Chapter 7:14. Divine Realm. Squeak squeak sounds were incessant. The two spirit mountains floating in the heaven realm were constantly colliding and fusing together. The core energy within the spirit mountains was constantly making noises, as if it would explode at any time. Swish swish swish, streaks of white light descended and converged into the figures of battle angels. They were all dressed in the same attire and equipment. They were clad in silver armor, and wings of light slowly unfurled behind them. Among them, a female angel with 6 wings and a sword of light in her hand stood quietly in the air above the two spirit mountains. She was silent and just looked at them. Her emotionless eyes flashed with an enchanting brilliance. Her skin was smooth and her facial features were exquisite. She was an absolute beauty. Shi Yin, one of the 6-winged scorching angels, and one of the highest authorities of the Western Heaven Realm. A 4-winged angel flew in the air and said respectfully, "Lord Angel Shi Yin, the two spirit mountains have begun to fuse, and the plane walls have disappeared. They can no longer be separated." "Damn it," Shi Yin frowned slightly and said, "Have the people from East Heaven arrived?" "They have. They have been guarding the other spirit mountain." At the request of the Western Heaven Realm, although the 7 luminaries demon emperor did not come personally, he sent his most trusted god emperor, named Ziyao. Umph. The light on the blade in Shi Yan's hand soared and said, "The people from East Heaven are so arrogant. They actually want us to wait for them here?" At this moment, the energy in the space suddenly became chaotic. Pa, a spatial crack appeared in front of them. In the next moment, a beautiful figure floated out of the spatial crack. It was Ziyao. With the appearance of Ziyao, spatial cracks opened in the east, and in the blink of an eye, nearly 100 experts with at least the cultivation of God King appeared one by one, confronting the angel legion of the Western Heaven Realm again. "What, do you want to continue fighting?" Shi Yin raised her eyebrows. Ziyao sneered, "If you want to fight, the Eastern Heaven Realm will accompany you to the end. I'm just afraid that you don't have enough 4-winged angels to kill. If you send 2-winged angels to die, then we, the Eastern Heaven, can't afford to lose face." "What did you say?" Shi Yan's gaze turned cold and a faint killing intent spread out like an avalanche. For a moment, a group of Eastern Heaven Realm gods were aghast. This was the first time they had seen a blazing angel-level expert from the Western Heaven Realm. This Shi Yin was obviously not someone that the previous angel corps could compare to. Anyone who could become a blazing angel must have stepped into the 99th heavenly paradise, and this Shi Yin was no exception. There were only 3 6-winged blazing angels in the entire Western Heaven Realm, and she was one of them. Ziyao's heart trembled slightly. She could already feel the disparity in strength. If she fought this Shi Yin alone, her chances of winning would not exceed 40%. If the 7 luminaries demon emperor did not come, no one could beat this Shi Yin. However, even so she could not lose. Thus, Ziyao said lightly, "Shi Yin, did you call me here to continue the god war or to negotiate peace?" "Negotiate peace." Shi Yin was also unwilling to continue fighting. Otherwise, both sides would suffer, and it would only benefit the people of the Northern Heaven Realm and the Southern Heaven Realm. Her eyes became gentle like a god who pitied the world. Her gentle eyes seemed to be able to melt people's hearts. She raised the corner of her mouth and smiled. "However, the condition of the negotiation is, these 2 spirit mountains belong to the Western Heaven Realm." "That's impossible." Ziyao did not give in and said, "This spirit mountain plane of the Eastern Heaven Realm is called the Broken Cauldron Realm. Our demon emperor's brother is in the Broken Cauldron Realm. How can we hand over the core of the spirit mountain of the Broken Cauldron Realm to the Western Heaven Realm? In my opinion, you'd better cede the 2 spirited mountains to the Eastern Heaven. Otherwise there will be another bloodbath." "If this is difficult." Shi Yan's bright eyes shot out a ray of light and said, "The people of the Eastern Heaven Realm should also know which plane this spirit mountain of the Western Heaven Realm corresponds to, right? The Celestial Pole Continent is the strongest plane of the Western Heaven Realm. The number of god emperors in the entire Celestial Pole Continent is in the double digits. Moreover, Lord Ruler of the Western Heaven Realm has cultivated many young geniuses to cultivate in the Celestial Pole Continent. It is also impossible for you to want the Western Heaven Realm." The Celestial Pole Continent? Ziyao's heart sank. Only now did she remember the origin of the spirit mountain that originally belonged to the Western Heaven Realm. The Celestial Pole Continent was the cradle for the Western Heaven Realm to cultivate geniuses and experts. Legend has it that every 5 years the Western Heaven Realm would place an oracle in the Celestial Pole Continent to find new experts to strengthen the power of the Divine Realm. If what Shi Yin said was true, then it would be really troublesome. The integration of the Broken Cauldron realm and the Celestial Pole continent had already been facilitated. Once the Celestial Pole continent and the Broken Cauldron realm started to fight, would the Qin Empire where Lin Muyu was in be able to win? I'm afraid even survival would be a problem. Xian seemed to see through Ziyao's thoughts. She couldn't help but smile. Fairy Ziyao, in my opinion, it is better to let it go. Whatever happens in the Celestial Pole continent and the Broken Cauldron realm, the Eastern Heaven and the Western Heaven realm should not interfere. How about it? Ziyao took a deep breath. Xian, are you so confident that the Celestial Pole continent can unify the two big planes? It's not confidence, it's certainty. Xian smiled, her peerlessly exquisite face was simply unbelievably beautiful. She lightly swung the long sword in her hand, causing the sword's blade to suddenly emit a light that was hundreds of meters long. She said with a slight smile, either sign a divine covenant, and the two sides will no longer interfere in the two big planes affairs, or we will start a war. The Western Heaven realm has never feared any challenge. Ziyao pondered for a long time, then lightly nodded, let's sign a divine covenant. The so-called divine covenant was an agreement between gods. Once the agreement was signed, as long as one party violated it, the signatory would lose the power of the laws. A god-rank expert losing the power of the laws was equivalent to becoming a useless person. Rustle, rustle, rustle. A faint golden light flickered on the divine covenant stone. When Ziyao and Xian injected their divine power together, the divine covenant stone quickly disappeared in space, turning into a wisp of power of the laws. This agreement would be supervised by the laws. The divine covenant has been established. Xian smiled cheerfully. All the gods on the God Realms list are not allowed to enter these two big planes. Furthermore, the divine power of the two big heaven realms is also prohibited from interacting with these two big planes. If you violate this, it will be either you or me who will fall. Do you understand? Understood. Ziyao indifferently looked at Xian, then her figure slowly disappeared. The Eastern Heaven realm gods behind her also disappeared one by one, as if they had never been here. Xian looked at the two spirit mountains again, took a deep breath and said, I hope the gods of the Celestial Pole continent will not disappoint me and the ruler. Alright, let's go back. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Beams of light shot into the sky, and in the blink of an eye, all the angels in the sky disappeared. The two spirit mountains still remained in the sky, as if nothing had happened. What? In the palace in East Heaven, the seven luminaries' demon emperor's astonished voice sounded. The Shattered Cauldron realm and the Celestial Pole continent have really merged. You even signed a divine covenant with Xian? Yes. Ziyao stood there quietly, her face full of grievance. If I didn't sign a divine covenant, I'm afraid the people I brought wouldn't even be enough to fill the gaps between Xian's teeth. The blazing angel-level gods of the Western Heaven realm are indeed not simple. Xian's power is probably not much inferior to yours, Demon Emperor. Is that so? The seven luminaries' Demon Emperor was unconvinced and said, I've met Xian once and she's not as strong as you say. It's just that Ziyao, you've descended to the mortal world too much, affecting your cultivation. From now on, just focus on your cultivation. With that said, the seven luminaries' Demon Emperor's eyes surged with thick killing intent. Good Western Heaven realm, so insolent. Xian, a mere blazing angel, dares to look down on East Heaven. Just wait and see, sooner or later, I'll beat Xian until she cries out in pain and kneels on the ground begging for mercy. I'm not willing to be my concubine. What did you say? Ziyao asked softly. Although her voice was soft, it was full of murderous intent. The seven luminaries' Demon Emperor's body trembled. No, nothing. Didn't I say it? I'm not willing even if she wants to be my concubine. Ziyao snorted lightly. Dream on. Xian has been single for tens of thousands of years since she stepped into the god realm. She's known as the #1 goddess of the Western Heaven realm. With your looks, you still want to take her as a concubine? You should wait for you to ascend and try. You is much more handsome than you. You, the seven luminaries' Demon Emperor was filled with grief and indignation. Are you even one of my people? Your elbow is almost touching the root of your thigh. Besides, that's just a superficial appearance. With my graceful temperament, I don't believe that Xian won't look at me. Unless you use the seven glorious stars transformation to hit her, I don't think she will necessarily look at you. Ziyao said indifferently. The seven luminaries' Demon Emperor didn't care much about it. He rubbed his nose and said, I'm afraid that next will be trouble for that brat you. After signing the divine pact, we can't even send a divine oracle to you. Even if his telekinesis penetrates the plane, we might not be able to receive it. Whether the Shattered Cauldron realm can escape this calamity depends on you, Feng Jixing, Qinin, and Tang Xiaoxi. Don't worry. Xiao smiled slightly. This is also Yu's cultivation. This is the test of fate. If he can't pass this, how can he become the supreme ruler of the God realm? Yes. Unknown alternate world. The dark land was barren. Only a little starlight shone down from the sky. The ground was full of barren wreckage. It was hard to tell whether it was the bones of animals or humans. Even the wild grass was black. It was probably because it hadn't been exposed to sunlight for a long time. Boom, boom. An intense shock came. A four-legged beast about 20 meters tall stepped over the barren mountain ridge. Its roar shocked the surroundings. This was a dog beast. It looked like a vicious dog, but its body was surrounded by layers of rocks. It was probably only in such a dangerous environment that such an ugly, clumsy beast could appear. The dog beast howled angrily. Probably because it had been hungry for too long, it opened its mouth and bit a fiery red rock. However, its luck was obviously not good. One of its teeth was directly knocked out. Woo-woo, the dog beast retreated a few steps. Suddenly, the sound of rushing wind came. Pooh! A steel arrow as thick as an arm directly penetrated the dog beast's head and shot out from its lower jaw. Instantly, the huge beast collapsed. Its skin burst open, revealing the stinking internal organs and blood. In the sky, a person was flying in the wind. Under the starlight, he frowned. Damn, another pile of smelly meat. How unlucky. Is there only one piece of fresh meat in the banished land? Chapter 7:15. The land of exile, as its name suggested, was a plain of exile. Those who could come to the land of exile were destined to be exiled evildoers. They were either villains or people who had offended the nobles. The land of exile was filled with ferocious beasts and countless experts, but only a few could walk out of the land of exile alive. The only thing that awaited the exiled was death. The only difference was when death would befall them. The expert who had shot the hound beast was a 3-meter-tall mutant. He wore a tattered robe and held a steel bow that was at least 2 meters long. His face was covered in dozens of scars, and the whirling wind under his feet allowed him to stand in the air, but it did not seem like he could stay that way for long. He had already forgotten his own name. If he had to give a name, it would be General Iron when he was exiled more than 20 years ago. However, the name General Iron seemed to have been abandoned by everything in the world. There were no human relationships in the land of exile. There was only slaughter, and people would give up their dignity and everything just to find food. General Tai landed on the ground and used his half-rotten leather boots to kick the hound beast's corpse. Immediately, black, rotting blood splattered everywhere. He pulled out the dagger at his waist and dug out a piece of the hound beast's flesh to take a sniff. A thick stench wafted over. F***ck. He tossed the rotten meat away and said angrily, "It's all rotten meat. I've been following it for an entire day. All my time has been wasted. I'm so angry." As he spoke, he flipped through the rest of the hound beast's meat. All of them were rotten. It was a disappointing hunt. Swoosh. Just as General Iron was flipping through the rotten meat, a blood-red light suddenly fell from the distance. Was that the light of the exiled? General Iron's memory was still very clear. He had brought this light to the land of exile all those years ago. That should be the exiled person, right? Human flesh works too. General Iron licked the corner of his lips. The last time he had eaten human flesh was not that long ago. Just half a month ago, it was a young man in his 20s. He was in the heavenly realm, but General Iron had killed him with a single palm strike. The flesh on his body was enough to last him for 10 days if it did not rot. Stepping on the ground, General Tai charged over as if he was flying, the dagger in his hand gleaming coldly. However, when General Iron arrived near the exiled people, he was stunned. There was a huge crater with thick smoke rising from it. At the center of the crater, there was a golden ball lying there quietly. The light it emitted would occasionally surge and then disappear. What is this? General Tai picked up the ball and did not find it scalding at all. Instead, it felt cool and refreshing. Moreover, a wave of vigorous light elemental energy flowed into General Tai's body through the ball. It was very stimulating. This. General Tai was taken aback. At this moment, the sphere suddenly disappeared with a flash, turning into streaks of light. The light gradually condensed into the figure of a girl around 5 years old. However, the girl's eyes were blood-red as she stared at General Tai silently. "It's a doll. What the hell?" General Tai grunted coldly and said, "Kid, who are you?" Why were you exiled here? Tell me the truth or I'll eat you. Understand? The girl looked at General Tai in a daze. There was a hint of fear in her blood-red eyes as she asked, "Where is this?" "This is the banished land. Tell me first. Who are you?" I. The girl stood there in a daze. After a few seconds, she still shook her head blankly. "I don't know who I am either." "Then why are your eyes blood-red?" General Tai squatted down and placed his dagger against the back of the girl's neck. As long as the girl made any movements, her head would be removed immediately. "I don't know either," the girl said blankly. General Tai's palm moved gently. He was searching for a gap in the girl's neck bones so that he could kill her in a single strike. In the decades he had spent in the banished land, he had gradually learned to turn killing into an art. Otherwise, how hard would it be to endure the years of decay? Just then, a cloud of smoke suddenly rolled over from the bushes in the distance. Strangely enough, the smoke did not rise up. Instead, it lay on the ground. General Tai hurriedly retreated a few steps with his dagger in hand. It was a fog beast. The fog beast was one of the most common wild beasts in the banished land, but it was also one of the most lethal enemies. The fog beast moved silently and was used to hiding in the fog at night to ambush its opponents. Its teeth were sharp and it could kill its enemies in a single strike. However, the girl frowned. Suddenly, as though she had gone berserk, the blood-red glow in her eyes intensified. She crawled on the ground and charged at the fog beast at lightning speed. Immediately, the fog scattered. The girl fought the beast in the fog. She was silent, but the fog beast let out a tragic cry that sounded like a cat's meow. In the blink of an eye, the fog dispersed. The girl was lying on the corpse of a fog beast that weighed about 50 kilograms. She opened her mouth and bit down on the fog beast's neck. "You." General Tai actually felt a little timid at that moment. "What's wrong?" The girl opened her mouth, revealing a pair of bloody fangs. How was this a girl? She was more like a tiny demon. "You can sense the fog beast?" General Tai asked. "What's a fog beast?" The girl was confused. "This one." General Tai pointed at the fog beast's corpse on the ground. "Yes." The girl nodded. "I can smell his aura." "Is that so?" General Tai was very shocked. Regardless of what this girl was, the fact that she could sense the fog beast's aura proved that she was a natural hunter. There was nothing lacking in the land of exile except a hunter with a strong sense for danger. General Tai had almost been killed over the years precisely because he lacked this ability. Therefore, General Tai suddenly made up his mind. He lowered his body and placed his hands on the ground. Looking at the girl who was less than a meter tall, he said, "Little girl, since you don't know where this is, why don't you follow me? I'll give you food and protect you." "Yes." The girl nodded, but she didn't seem happy or unhappy. She just nodded in agreement. General Tai grinned, revealing 2 rows of yellow teeth. He said, "Since you're following me, you have to call me Dad. How about it? You be my daughter and hunt the beasts in the land of exile for me. I'll be your dad and protect you from being bullied." The girl still nodded. "Okay." General Tai was overjoyed. He grabbed the fog beast's legs and slung it over his shoulder. He said, "Then let's go home. This fog beast's meat is enough for us to eat for a week. We have to hunt the next prey within a week or we'll starve. Right, what's your name?" "I don't have a name," the girl said. Your eyes are red. In my hometown there's a type of people with red eyes. We call them demon spirits. How about this? You should be a demon spirit too, and a small one at that. I'll call you Little Demon?" "Little Demon?" The girl was confused. "Then I'll be called Little Demon?" "Yes, your name will be Little Demon." "I have a name." The girl finally revealed a hint of joy. "Yes, you have a name. Let's go home now." 2 figures, one big and one small, slowly moved under the starlight. The land of exile was very vast. It was said that no one had ever reached the end. No one knew what was at the end of the land of exile, but one thing was for sure. Every inch of the land of exile had an owner, also known as a lord. If one wanted to become the owner of a piece of land, they had to kill the previous owner and then, most of the time they would be eaten. The land of exile didn't grow food. Almost all the food came from the exiles who fell from the sky, as well as the evil beasts that lived there. However, most of the evil beasts in the land of exile were very strong and hard to deal with. Smart people would rather provoke their own kind than wild beasts. General Tai's territory wasn't big. It was less than 5 kilometers wide. Beyond that was a dangerous region, so General Tai only hunted invaders in his own territory. Because his territory was too small, It was normal for General Tai to not be able to hunt for food for half a month. Now that he had this little demon, General Tai couldn't help but feel happy. With Little Demon's help, hunting wild beasts shouldn't be a problem. If Little Demon could easily kill a fog beast, then killing other wild beasts shouldn't be too difficult. Even if he couldn't kill them, General Tai wouldn't suffer any losses. Plus, he could eat the fresh meat of a girl. In the small cave, General Tai lived a life of barbecuing meat. However, he only cut off a small portion of the fog beast's hind leg. It weighed about 2 kilograms. He ate 2 kilograms and Little Demon ate half a kilogram. That should be enough. Looking at her small body, she shouldn't be able to eat much. Before long, the fragrance of meat wafted out. The girl sat on the meadow and finally snapped out of her reverie. She immediately looked straight at the roasted meat on the wooden stick. She didn't say a word and only looked at it calmly. The corner of her mouth revealed a cute fong, as though General Tai would fly into a rage if he didn't give him food. "Are you hungry?" General Tai asked with a smile. "Yes." The girl replied emotionlessly. "Come eat." General Tai cut off a piece of meat. The girl finished it in 2 or 3 bites and didn't find it too hot. "It can't be." General Tai was dumbfounded. He cut off another piece of meat and the girl finished it in 2 or 3 bites. Therefore, General Tai ate less than half a kilogram of meat out of the 5 kilograms. He had no choice but to change his plans. Given the little demon's appetite, he had to kill a new prey within 3 days or he would starve. Starlight shone on the edge of the cave as the bonfire flickered its last bit of light. The little demon fell into a deep sleep on the meadow. General Tai held a dagger in his hand and sharpened a sturdy wooden stick into an arrow. As he did so, he glared coldly at the girl. Chapter 716. Mingshan Province, Xiangyang City. This city, known as the trade center of the south, had regained its prosperity after several years of recuperation. Merchants and travelers were as numerous as the clouds and pedestrians weaved in and out. Within the city, merchant guilds, restaurants, grain stores, blacksmiths and so on had been built. Moreover, Qin Yin's policy of subduing the world by force had been continued. Just within Xiangyang City alone, there were 7 sacred temples for martial artists to reside in. To the north of the city stood a towering camp that stretched for 10 miles. This was the Mingshan army that guarded Mingshan Province. This Mingshan army was formed from the 55,000 troops of Qihai Province that Xiangyu had once commanded. Together with the recruits from the province, there was an army of 100,000 people. With these 100,000 people, it was enough to guard the southern border of the empire. The camp was adjacent to a mansion with green tiles and white walls. This was Duke of Southern Residence, where Xiangyu lived. It was early spring and the weather in the south was slightly warmer. The dozen or so peach trees in the courtyard were all in full bloom, and in the center of the courtyard, Xiangyu stood there majestically, spear in hand. Golden air swirled around him. He was trying to break through to the 19th layer of heavenly abode, but it didn't seem to be going well. His brows were tightly furrowed, and his face was covered in sweat. "Husband." A figure walked over from the hall. It was Tang Wei holding a towel. She was now a beautiful middle-aged woman, and the passage of time hadn't taken away her beauty. Instead, it added a bit of mature charm to her. She helped Xiangyu wipe the sweat off his face and said, "Don't work too hard. If you can't break through today, then wait until tomorrow." Xiangyu took a deep breath and continued to show tenderness on his face. "Little Wei, thank you. You're too courteous." Tang Wei giggled. She wet the towel in the basin carried by a maid, wrung it out and gave it back to Xiangyu. "Have you heard that Lin Muyu and Xiao Shi went to Demon Subduing Pass? It's said that they even facilitated the marriage between Marquis of Western Garrison Tang Jin and the Saintess of the Demons, Ling Hu Yen." "Yes, I've heard about it." Xiangyu nodded. "But Little Wei, don't call the Qin King by his name in the future. He's now the Qin King of the Empire. He's no longer that Lin Muyu." "Humph." Tang Wei's face was filled with indignation as she said, "He and Feng Jixing's hands are stained with the blood of our Tang family. This group of executioners, one by one, took over the power and even created the so-called 3 kings ruling the world. Husband, if you hadn't taken advantage of the night to attack Yihe country's capital city, Bailing City, would Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing be able to sit firmly on the throne?" "Alas, don't say any more." Xiangyu frowned. However, Tang Wei continued, "If Her Highness Ying didn't die, I'm afraid that my husband would have already become a marquis who controls half of the country. Why would he be assigned to this border city? There's nothing bad about Xiangyang City. It's an outstanding place with a beautiful landscape and clear waters. Besides, Shangyang City is a prosperous city with prosperous trade. It's enough for us to live here without worrying about food or clothing. Husband, are you really satisfied with just a corner of the world? Tang Wei looked straight at Xiang Yu. Xiang Yu's eyes were filled with helplessness. He couldn't help but let out a sigh and said, times have changed. Back then my cultivation was enough to rule Lanyan City, but what about now? Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing, Tang Xiaoxi, and the others have all surpassed me. In addition, Jin Yifan and Tang Lan have all lost their power. Now it's Lin Muyu, Feng Jixing and Qin Yan's world. It's no longer the Qin family's world. Tang Wei smiled faintly and said, Husband, there's a letter from outside the Eastern Sea. Are you willing to take a look? Outside the Eastern Sea? Let me see it. Yes. Tang Wei took out a letter that was almost crumpled. After Xiang Yu took the letter, he shot into the hall like lightning. After opening the letter and glancing through it, his heart was in turmoil. It was the handwriting of the Iha country's young lord, Qin Huan. The content was naturally in agreement with Xiang Yu to coordinate from within and without. They would first seize Lingkong province, then march into the other provinces of Lingnan and plant the Iha country's flag on this land again. Tang Wei walked in with large strides and asked, Husband, what do you think? It was obvious that Tang Wei had already read this letter. Xiang Yu frowned and said, the Iha country has long since withered away. What power does it have to compete with the empire? Besides, I, Xiang Yu, am the descendant of the war god Xiang Wentian. How could I do such a shameful thing like colluding with the enemy and committing treason? As he spoke, Xiang Yu suddenly opened his palm and the letter was quickly shredded by his divine power. He looked at Tang Wei with a stern expression and shouted in a low voice, Little Wei, you're too insensible. Do you know what the consequences of colluding with the Iha country are? You'll be hanged on top of the city gate. I hope you can learn to be smarter and stop doing such foolish things. I won't remind you of this a second time. You're on your own now. Xiang Yu turned around and left for the Mingshan army's camp. He left Tang Wei standing there alone, tears pouring out of her eyes. Tang Wei's body trembled as she murmured, Xiang Yu, have you forgotten that you're the Tang family's son-in-law? Is the Tang family's enmity not your enmity? How can you be the enemy's dog and ignore your grandfather's unjust death? Xiang Yu, since you're heartless, don't blame me for being unjust. Behind her, a black-robed attendant floated out like a ghost. He was about 50 years old and had a weathered face. He said respectfully, Princess Wei, are you calling for this subordinate? Tang Wei's beautiful eyes were filled with killing intent as she said, How's the preparation of the magic crystals? We've refined about 150 kilograms of magic crystal coins. 3 brave warriors are willing to sacrifice themselves for the Seven Seas Tang sect. As long as Princess Wei gives the order, we're willing to do anything. Good, that's great. Tang Wei turned around to look at him and said, Tang Xian, you're one of grandfather's people. Now that the enemy is right in front of you, Feng Jixing will lead light cavalry to Shangyang City to patrol the Mingshan province in 3 days. You'll blend into the crowd and activate the magic crystals while the people are kneeling to welcome Feng Jixing. I don't believe that the explosion of 150 kilograms of magic crystals won't be able to kill Feng Jixing, who's only at the first heaven of the divine state. Feng Jixing killed my second brother, so he must die. As she spoke, Tang Wei's delicate face became extremely hideous and twisted. Tang Xian cupped his fists and said, I'll definitely obey Princess Wei's orders. However, if we do this, I'm afraid that the innocent people in Shangyang City will be harmed. The explosion of a magic crystal weighing 150 kilograms will cause a shockwave of hundreds of meters. I'm afraid that tens of thousands of people will die because of us. Those who achieve great things don't bother about trifles. Why do you care about those commoners? Tang Wei said coldly, you just need to kill Feng Jixing. Once Feng Jixing dies, Lin Muyu will definitely vent her anger on the Mingshan province. I'll see if Xiang Yu will rebel or not. Tang Xian nodded. I'll do as you say. He wanted to say something but stopped. Do you have anything else to say? Tang Wei asked. Tang Xian looked straight at her and said, I've followed Duke Lan for many years and have long regarded him as my father. As for you, I've been watching you since the day Princess Wei was born. Princess, I have something to say, but I don't know if I should say it. Say it. Using our strength to go against Prince Qin and Prince Xian's strength is no different from striking a rock with an egg. Princess Wei, you can imagine Princess Shi. She's now the princess of the supporting nation and maintains the relationship between the demon race, the savage tribe, and the empire. She can be said to be the mainstay of the empire and is loved by the people. Why can Princess Shi let go of her hatred but Princess Wei can't? Because Xiao Shi isn't a member of the Tang clan. Tang Wei's expression became very resentful and said, "Grandfather is dead, but Xiao Shi can sit by and do nothing. How can she be considered a member of the Tang clan?" Tang Xian was stunned and said, "In order to help Duke Lan take revenge, Princess Shi killed Empress Qin Yin. Is this considered sitting by and doing nothing? But she allowed Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu to wantonly occupy the throne. What does this mean?" Feng Jixing and Lin Muyu were personally conferred the title of the four heroes of Lanyan by the late Emperor Qin Jin. Lin Muyu was even treated by Qin Jin as his own daughter. As Qin Yin's elder brother, why can't he take over the throne on her behalf? "Princess Wei, you're also a member of the Tang clan's bloodline. I'm truly unwilling to see this line of bloodline come to an end of mutual destruction." As he spoke, Tang Xian slowly knelt down and said, "This is all this old general has to say. But as long as Princess Wei wants old general to kill Feng Jixing, old general will definitely disregard my life and do it. This is the favor I owe Duke Lan." Tang Wei's delicate body trembled and she lowered her body to help Tang Xian up and said, "Uncle Tang Xian, little Wei only requests that you kill Feng Jixing this time and take revenge for Tang Lu. As long as Feng Jixing is dead, the Tang clan will have a new chance to take a turn for the better." "Yes, old general obeys." Tang Xian stood up and his eyes were filled with despair. His back view that turned around and left looked especially aged. Regardless of whether he succeeded or not, he would definitely not be able to return once he left. Swish. The arrow that was carved from hardwood flew past the back of the Radiance Beast. The arrowhead wasn't sharp enough and was actually unable to penetrate the back of the Radiance Beast that was covered in thick armor and thorns. "Little Yao, hurry up and attack. Kill it and it will be our next food." Holding the longbow, General Tai rapidly retreated, increasing the distance between him and the Radiance Beast. Brr, brr. The Radiance Beast roared angrily because it was attacked. The thorns on its body stood up, and it bared its teeth as it pounced over. This kind of Radiance Beast was very common in the land of exile. Its skin was very hard and ordinary blades and swords wouldn't be able to pierce through it. What was more troublesome was that the Radiance Beast's body was covered in thick thorns that were abnormally sharp. Furthermore, these thorns carried venom. Therefore, the majority of the wild beasts that fought with the Radiance Beast would still die from poison even if they could kill it. Although the Radiance Beast was terrifying, the freshness of its meat was rare in the entire land of exile. It was the most delicious when cooked into soup. Sis, the girl crawled in the grass. Her pair of beautiful blood-colored pupils were filled with hostility. Suddenly she charged forward. With a loud bang, her beautiful face almost slid across the ground, directly knocking the Radiance Beast upside down. The Radiance Beast's abdomen was soft and tender, so it didn't have any prickles. Before the Radiance Beast could react, the girl spread open her 5 fingers, and a dense blood-colored aura directly tore open the Radiance Beast's abdomen, almost tearing out its intestines. Roar! The Radiance Beast struggled and roared. Its huge body suddenly flipped over, and its sharp claws swept across, instantly leaving behind stab wounds on the girl's cheeks and shoulders. Chapter 717. Swoosh! The Radiance Beast opened its huge mouth, and its crescent-shaped fangs went straight for the girl's neck. If it were to bite down, the girl's neck would probably be bitten off forcefully. At the moment of life and death, the girl seemed to be injected with some kind of power. Her hands danced wildly, clawing the Radiance Beast's abdomen into mush. She flipped over and opened her small mouth. Her fangs glowed with a blood-red light as she bit down heavily on the Radiance Beast's neck, tearing off a piece of flesh. Then she quickly took a second bite. Just like that, bite after bite continued until the Radiance Beast's throat was bitten into mush. Meanwhile, the girl was already covered in blood, looking battered and exhausted. The Radiance Beast lay quietly on the ground, losing all signs of life. At this moment, its greatest value was nothing more than 100 kilograms of meat. To everyone in the land of exile, this was an extreme delicacy. Rustle. General Tai held his longbow and walked forward. His gaze landed on the Radiance Beast and said, "Little Yao, well done. You actually managed to kill this Radiance Beast. Father is very gratified." The girl's body was a little frail. The wound on her neck that was pierced by the prickles was gradually turning black. That was the result of the Radiance Beast's venom invading her body. She trembled slightly and looked at General Tai without saying a word. General Tai raised his hand and grabbed the Radiance Beast's thornless tail. He dragged it backward and patted the girl's head. "Let's go. Father will make you a delicious Radiance Beast soup when we get back." "And?" This time the girl nodded. She understood General Tai's words. Just like that, General Tai dragged the Radiance Beast's corpse and walked in front while the girl followed behind. Her body trembled with every step. Her stamina seemed to have reached its limit. General Tai didn't even turn his head and kept walking forward. Bang! A few minutes later, there was a loud sound and a flower of blood bloomed on General Tai's shoulder. That was a wound caused by an iron marble. Immediately, the Radiance Beast in his hand fell to the ground. General Tai slumped to the ground and looked at a figure walking over from afar. This person held a pitch-black iron rod in his hand. One end was still emitting green smoke. The corner of his mouth curled up, revealing an evil smile. Yo, isn't this General Tai? What, your body of steel was actually pierced through by my elemental spear, ha ha ha. He looked to be around 40 years old and his face was fierce-looking. After walking forward, he raised his hand and grabbed the corpse of the Radiance Beast, saying, So it's a Radiance Beast. Not bad, not bad. Oh, what a pity, General Tai. You won't be able to eat this Radiance Beast, but you're very lucky. After I finish eating this Radiance Beast, your flesh will become my next meal. General Iron's face was pale as he gnashed his teeth and said, Black Fiend, I've never invaded your territory. What? Why did you trespass into my territory? What are you talking about? Black Spear smirked coldly. He raised the elemental spear in his hand and pointed the pitch-black muzzle at General Tai's head. Streams of lightning energy gathered in the butt of the spear from his arm before being stored in the bullet. He said, This is the land of exile, not anyone's territory. Have you forgotten the rules of the land of exile? Never be careless. You were careless just now. To think that you didn't notice my arrival. Ah. General Tai knew that his death was imminent, so he could only place all his hopes on someone else. He said in a low voice, Little Yao, he's trying to kill father. Hurry. Kill him. What? Black Spear turned to look at the girl and could not help but laugh out loud. General Tai, I didn't expect you to have fallen to such a state. What else can this little girl do other than being a stew or two? However, Black Spear's pupils suddenly constricted in the next moment. The girl had suddenly disappeared and in the next moment he felt a sharp pain on his neck. He hurriedly swung his spear to attack the girl who was pouncing on his chest. However, it was too late. When the girl raised her head, she was biting a large piece of flesh on Black Spear's neck, causing blood to splatter. Rustle, rustle, rustle. Black Spear stumbled a few steps back and fell to the ground. His body twitched continuously. He had actually been killed by the girl. Well done. Well done. Ha! General Tai stood up in a wretched manner. He grabbed the Radiance Beast's tail with one hand and Black Spear's ankle with the other. Even though he was injured, he still dragged the two prey back to his lair with great difficulty. The girl watched on in a daze. She did not seem to understand why this father of hers had to drag Black Spear's corpse home. Night fell. The night in the banished land was filled with killing and death. Therefore, unless one possessed extraordinary strength, they would not be willing to go out to hunt at night. Clearly, General Tai was not someone who was confident in his own strength. A charred iron pot was propped over the bonfire, and the water inside gurgled. General Tai had cut 5 kilograms of the Radiance Beast's meat and placed it into the pot. There was no seasoning, but it was definitely an incomparably delicious meal. However, to General Tai's surprise, the girl only ate a small piece of the Radiance Beast's meat and stopped eating. She lay curled up on the meadow as black blood seeped out from the wounds on her neck and shoulder. The Radiance Beast's venom was taking effect. Her body twitched violently and trembled. This was the result of hunting the Radiance Beast. General Tai gulped down the meat as he turned to look at the girl. He could not help but frown as he thought to himself, It can't be that she's finished so quickly, right? If that's the case, I'll have to find a new assistant. It was not until the next morning that the girl finally woke up. The black blood on her neck had been replaced by fresh red blood. She sat up timidly and stuck out her tongue to lick her palm. Then she covered her wound with her palm. As if by instinct, a miraculous scene happened. The bleeding from her wound stopped very quickly. Her saliva seemed to have extraordinary uses, and General Tai, who was in a deep sleep, did not seem to notice this at all. When it was close to noon, General Tai finally woke up. He took out the iron marble that had been shot into his shoulder by the elemental spear. After using a cotton cloth to staunch the bleeding, he simply bandaged the wound. In the banished land, the word medical treatment was very unfamiliar. It was fine as long as one did not die. There was no way to talk about healing injuries. On the other hand, the girl's appetite seemed to have grown a lot. She had eaten close to 5 kilograms of the Radiance Beast's meat for lunch. General Tai frowned. At this rate he would have to go out hunting again soon. He took out his dagger and dug out a large piece of meat from the leg of Black Spear's corpse. He mixed it with the Radiance Beast's meat and tossed it into the pot to continue cooking. If one wanted to survive in the Banished Land, one had to conserve one's stamina. Only then would one be able to survive the upcoming battles. This was the law of survival in the Banished Land, and General Tai understood it very well. After a night, the girl's injuries were almost completely healed. What surprised General Tai the most was that the girl seemed to have grown a lot. Her height had increased by at least 3 to 5 centimeters. It was as if such growth had happened overnight. This also explained why her appetite was so terrifying. Perhaps I'll grow stronger when I grow up? General Tai chuckled. The girl did not understand what General Tai was talking about. She only continued to eat the meat in her bowl and picked out Black Spear's flesh one by one. She only ate the Radiance Beast's meat and did not seem too interested in human flesh. General Tai looked displeased. Thankfully he was not a picky eater. Black Spear was an old enemy. Eating his flesh gave General Tai a strange twisted sense of pleasure. Lowering his head to look at the wound on his shoulder, General Tai said, "When my injuries have recovered, we can go to the hunting grounds to try our luck. Perhaps we might be able to kill 1 or 2 triceratops." Of course the girl did not know what a triceratops was. She only asked, Is it delicious?" General Tai laughed out loud. "Delicious, of course it's delicious. However, the triceratops is also very powerful. Its 3rd horn can discharge electricity. Over the past few decades, countless people have died to the triceratops' electric horn. So, my dear daughter, we must be careful." "Okay." The girl nodded. She did not know what a triceratops was, but it would be great if she could eat meat. As the days passed, General Tai discovered that the demon spirit's senses and strength were rapidly improving. Her movements were becoming more and more sensitive, and her ability to sense unknown dangers was also rapidly improving. There were even a few times when she had already launched an ambush before her prey had even appeared. She managed to kill the wild beasts almost without suffering any injuries. None of the wild beasts in the Banished Land were easy to deal with. General Tai knew this better than anyone. He began to worry day by day. What would he do if he could not control this demon spirit one day? He had to make a good plan for himself. General Tai silently lowered his head to look at the girl. He discovered that she had already grown to be around 7 or 8 years old. She held a dagger with a cold glint in her hand, sharpening an arrow. Her gaze was focused as if there were only daggers and wooden sticks in the world. "Little Yao, do you know what daddy means?" General Tai suddenly asked. "No." The girl did not raise her head. "Daddy means that I'm the most important person in this world to you. You must protect me and treat me as the person you love the most. You must not let anyone hurt me, and I will also protect you. I won't let anyone bully you. If anyone bullies you, I will kill him. Do you understand now?" General Tai patiently guided her. "If anyone bullies me, Daddy will kill him, right?" The girl finally raised her head to look at him. "Yes." General Tai felt gratified. He nodded repeatedly and said, "But first you must protect Daddy well. Do you understand?" "Okay." The girl lowered her head and continued to carve the wooden stick. She was so focused as if she had completely forgotten about the conversation earlier. Sigh. General Tai sighed. A blood moon appeared in the sky, causing the already blood-red land of Banished to become even darker. Chapter 7:18. What exactly is Ashura? Under the starry sky, Lanyan City was exceptionally quiet. Not far from the city, the National Monument was even quieter. Countless warriors who had sacrificed their lives for the Empire were buried under the huge stone tablets. Lin Muyu was lying on his back under a stone tablet, his hands supporting the back of his head. He looked up at the starry sky and suddenly asked this question. After returning to Lanyan City, he would come here almost every day to accompany Chu Huayin, Qin Lei, Lei Hong, and the others in front of the tombstones. It was good to talk, otherwise he would feel suffocated. Shura, Tang Xiaoxi was wearing a dark blue cloak. She sat on a tree trunk at the side, her legs swaying in the cold wind. She said, "Actually, I'm not too sure, but it sounds very powerful." Shura is a hunter in the dark, a natural hunter. It's recorded in the ancient books, but it seems that no one has ever seen a Shura. Lin Muyu pursed her lips and said, "I don't know how Xiaoyin is now. If only we could know which plane she is in, we could go find her and help her get through this." Tang Xiaoxi smiled faintly. Xiaoyin must have lost her memory now. She doesn't know you at all. If you interfere, she might beat you up. Alright, if you want to know where Xiaoyin is, maybe you can ask for help from the God Realm. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor and Xiao Fairy can help us. No, the Demon Emperor told me in my dream last night. He said that Xiao has signed a divine pact with a blazing angel called Shiyen from the Western Heaven Realm and can no longer help us. He didn't say anything else. He said that he was afraid of activating the divine pact and causing Xiao to lose all her cultivation. In any case, he told us to be careful. I see. Tang Xiaoxi pouted and said, then what should we do? Are we just going to wait like this? I wonder how Xiaoyin is doing now. She must have suffered a lot by herself. Lin Muyu smiled bitterly. Xiaoyin has already tasted the bitterness and humiliation of the 3 realms and the 6 paths of reincarnation. My chest hurts when I think of her suffering in some unknown place. Xiaoxi, my heart aches for her. Tang Xiaoxi fell into silence for a few seconds before she muttered, I also feel sorry for Xiaoyin. It's all my fault. If you want to blame someone, blame the demon tribe. If Yaoji of the demon tribe hadn't controlled your mind, Xiaoyin wouldn't have ended up like this. As she spoke, Lin Muyu clenched her fists and said, within a year, I'll definitely wipe out the devil race completely from the continent. Tang Xiaoxi was slightly surprised. Mo, are you serious? Yes. Lin Muyu nodded, we have to be decisive. Otherwise, leaving the devil race in the Tongtian Gorge will always be a big problem for us. The Demon Emperor told me to be careful. There must be other strong enemies. Before the strong enemies come, we must first wipe out the devil race and unify the entire continent. Xiaoyin, the 7 Seas Tang sect has been rebuilt. What are your plans for the future? The 7 Seas Tang sect has Tang Zone. I've already imparted all of the Fire God seal to him. I believe that with Tang Zong's comprehension, he'll have great achievements in 3 to 5 years. The Tang sect won't need me then. I want to be with you and wait for Xiaoyin to return. Lin Muyu suddenly smiled, and then stay by my side. I was worried that you said you'd stay in 7 Seas City. If that's the case, I'll miss you. I'll have to fly for a long time just to see you. Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but feel flustered. She smiled sweetly and said, really? Lin Muyu didn't look at her. She continued to look at the sky and said, I'm not a plant. When I was in the Nether Spring realm, I already thought that if I love someone, I should treat them with all my heart. I'm a person with the sovereign persona. Since I was lucky enough to awaken the sovereign persona, then I'm also lucky enough to have you and Xiaoyin. Aren't you afraid that Xiaoyin will be jealous? Tang Xiaoxi asked carefully, afraid that his answer wouldn't satisfy her. Lin Muyu took a different approach and said, I'll thank the heavens if you're not jealous. I'm not worried about Xiaoyin. Tui, what kind of person do you think I am? I'm saying that because I didn't misjudge you. In the distance, a group of royal guards dressed in the armor of the royal guards were waiting. They watched the young man lying on the nation-guarding monument that was revered by the world. If it was anyone else who dared to be so disrespectful, they would have been dragged out and beheaded. However, the person in front of them was the Qin Emperor Lin Muyu. He was the person who turned the tide. Furthermore, he had such a close relationship with Chu Huaying and Qin Lei when they were alive. Presumably, the 2 of the 4 heroes of Lanyan who had died for the country wouldn't blame him for anything. Early in the morning, amidst the rumbling sounds of nooses, Shangyang City's north gate was opened. Countless commoners who were waiting to head out to farm or hunt filed out of the city. When it was close to noon, a group of royal guards appeared and sealed the city gate, preventing commoners from entering. There was no other reason for this. One of the empire's 3 kings, Feng Jixing, was going to arrive very soon. Outside the city, the flags of the empire's purple Yinghua flower and Prince Xian were intertwined. The number of people Feng Jixing had brought with him was not a lot, but it was not a small number either. There were 500 light cavalry troops accompanying him, and their extravagance was far from that of some dukes and marquises. After all, Feng Jixing had stepped into the divine realm a long time ago, and a forged celestial lattice had allowed his abilities to multiply. Now that he had obtained 2 divine weapons that were substandard divine weapons, it was clear that his abilities had improved by leaps and bounds. There was no need for him to worry about being assassinated. A row of cavalry troops opened up a path at the front. They held onto wooden shields and all of them wore solemn expressions. After the 200 cavalry troops entered the city, a big horse finally galloped into the city. It was Feng Jixing who had been waiting for a very long time. He felt very vexed at having to rely on the nobility, but those officials said that this was a rule passed down from their ancestors and that they could not go against it. Therefore he could only put up with all of this. Following behind the cavalry troops, Feng Jixing wore a set of light gray armor and golden battle robes. Having stepped into the divine realm, he appeared even more handsome, causing the commoners in the city to be stunned. Then should we believe in Prince Feng Jixing? He's so handsome, it's no wonder that such a character can eliminate the traitors of Peace Country. I wonder when Prince Xian will be choosing his concubine. I'm so excited. With Feng Jixing's ability, he was naturally able to hear the commoners' whispers. However, he pretended that he did not hear them. His left hand held onto the reins while his right hand held onto the hilt of the Crimson Phoenix sword. He wore a relaxed smile on his face as he kept on greeting the commoners on both sides of the road. Feng Jixing was only tempted by the matter of choosing his concubine, but he would definitely not act on it. He knew why he had come to Xiangyang City this time around. Xiang Yu was the southern country duke, a feudal lord. Therefore, Feng Jixing would definitely make a trip to the south once a month to meet with Xiang Yu. He would have a drink or two with him and chat about some trivial matters regarding the empire in Lanyan City, using this to probe Xiang Yu's heart. Feng Jixing knew that if Xiang Yu were to create trouble in the south, the empire would probably sink into another internal strife. Lin Muyu did not have the time to deal with such public relations. Therefore, Feng Jixing could only trouble Prince Xian. In the city, a group of guards went up to welcome them. Right in front was a general who wore 2 golden general stars. After getting off his horse, he knelt by the roadside and said respectfully, "I'm Xiangyang City's military superintendent commander, Lu Hao. I'm a country protector general and have been sent by the southern country duke to escort Prince Xian to the Mingshan army's headquarters." General Lu Hao, it's been hard on you. Get up and lead the way." "Yes, Your Highness." Lu Hao got on his horse and gave the order, "Turn the horses around and invite Prince Xian to the central camp." The cavalry was about to move forward when a commotion suddenly rang out. Feng Jixing quickly looked over and asked, "What's going on?" A captaincy said, "I don't know. It seems that someone wants to petition." Petition? Feng Jixing was stunned. The word petition had a long history. It was a way for commoners to express their wishes to the upper echelons. There were probably people who knew that today was the day Prince Xian would come to Xiangyang City. Therefore, there were people who wanted to petition. Since he was not in a hurry to head to the central camp, Feng Jixing waved his hand and said, "Let whoever wants to petition in." Yes. Very soon, an elderly man came to the front of the cavalry under the protection of 2 guards. He quickly knelt down and said, "Your Highness, my name is Zhou Yang. I make a living selling medicine in the north of Xiangyang City. A few days ago, a group of people came and smashed up my medicine shop, snatching away many expensive medicinal herbs and causing me to go bankrupt. I went to the magistrate's office to lodge a complaint, but no one paid any attention to it. Your Highness, please seek justice for me." Feng Jixing turned around and dismounted from his horse. He helped the old man up and said, "Elder, please get up. Tell me who was the one who smashed and robbed your medicine shop. I'll help you get justice." It's someone from the Tang clan. It's Tang Wei's distant cousin, someone called Tang Wu." "Tang Wu?" Feng Jixing frowned and said, "Elder, please return home first. I'll send someone to investigate this matter. Don't worry, we'll definitely seek justice for you." "Thank you, Your Highness." The elderly man turned to leave. However, he had only taken a few steps when his body suddenly trembled and he fell down in astonishment. Fresh blood had soaked through his clothes from his chest, and an arrow could be faintly seen piercing through his head. He had been shot dead. "Who is it?" Feng Jixing was enraged. He raised his hand and pulled out the Crimson Phoenix, bellowing, "Who dares to kill the innocent before me?" The crowd on both sides panicked. A few burly men dashed out while carrying black cloth in their hands. They were also holding onto crystals that were flashing with electricity. Those were the energy crystals used to detonate the magic crystal cannons. Feng Jixing had participated in the development of the magic crystal cannons and naturally knew about these. However, how was he to leave now? There were at least 10,000 people in the entire Xiangyang City's North Square. If he were to leave, these people would all be sending themselves to their deaths. This bunch of B** starts. Feng Jixing mumbled. Boom, boom, boom. Purple light soared into the sky. The explosive prowess of the magic crystals was no small matter, and the square seemed to have been vaporized in an instant. The people in the core zone had no time to escape, and their bodies were instantly vaporized. A mushroom cloud soared into the sky, and the prowess of the explosion swept out in all directions, turning the houses and city walls into dust. Buzz? A shock wave continued to impact into the city. In the core zone, Feng Jixing stood in the deep pit, surrounded by a solid wind shield. His eyes were bloodshot as he looked into the distance and bellowed furiously, "B*****starred. I'm going to kill you." In a corner several hundred meters away, a middle-aged guard silently looked into the distance and mumbled, "Princess Wei, forgive me for my incompetence. If I can't kill Feng Jixing, I won't be able to repay you. I can only die." He slowly drew out his dagger. Pa pa pa, a bolt of lightning flashed before him. It was Feng Jixing. He had already heard Tang Xian's prayer through his psyche power. "You." Tang Xian took a few steps back. Feng Jixing gritted his teeth and looked at him. "Is it Tang Wei?" "I." Tang Xian didn't say anything. Feng Jixing's overwhelming aura surged towards him, and he had no way to defend himself. His spirit was instantly crushed, which meant that he had admitted it. Die. The Crimson Phoenix waved its hand, and Tang Xian's body instantly turned into a pile of dust. Chapter 719. What? Prince Xin Feng Jixing was assassinated? In the central tent, Xiangyu slammed the table and stood up, bellowing fiercely, "Nonsense! How is Prince Xin now?" "Prince Xin is fine. He's pacifying the commoners in the city and will come over in a while." General of the South Zhao Haishan's countenance was ashen. He knew what this assassination meant. "Have you found out who did it?" Xiangyu asked with narrowed eyes. "We found out. It's someone instructed by Princess Wei's retainer, Tang Xian. They used a few magic crystal cannons to explode Shangyang City's north gate, killing and injuring over 4,000 innocent commoners." "Where's Tang Xian?" "He's already been killed by Prince Xin." "How muddle-headed." Xiangyu clenched his fists, his entire body trembling as he said, "What on earth is Tang Wei thinking? Is she really that reckless? She even dares to assassinate Feng Jixing. Is there anything she doesn't dare to do?" Zhao Haishan frowned and said, "Duke Yu, this matter definitely won't end peacefully. From what I see, the people Feng Jixing brought with him have all been killed, leaving him alone. If Feng Jixing were to come here to denounce us, we can only hand over Princess Wei. However, Princess Wei is Duke Yu's wife. I think we might as well beat her at her own game." With that, Zhao Haishan made a slashing gesture. His meaning was clear. "No." Xiangyu seemed to have lost all his strength. He sat down on the chair weakly and said, "Tang Wei wants to force me to fall out with Feng Jixing, forcing me to take revenge for the Tang clan. But I can't do that. I, Xiangyu, am a hero who has done my best for the empire and the people of the world. How can I do such a disloyal thing? If I kill Feng Jixing, Lin Muyu will definitely lead her troops to the south. Who will be able to stop Lin Muyu's 500,000-man army? Even if I kill Feng Jixing and defeat Lin Muyu, how will I face Her Highness Qinyin when she returns one day?" Zhao Haishan was stunned. "Do you still think that Her Highness Qinyin can be resurrected in the Shattered Cauldron continent? Why not?" Xiangyu was unafraid and he said, "Her Highness Yin possesses the divine personality of an overgod and is protected by the heavens and the earth. She will definitely be able to overcome all the difficulties and come back to life. Lin Muyu and Feng Jixing firmly believe this, and I, Xiangyu, firmly believe this as well. Then, if Feng Jixing comes to denounce us, what should we do? Nothing much. Bring 500 soldiers to the Southern Duke residence and invite Princess Wei over." This. Zhao Haishan pondered for a moment, then cupped his fists and said, "Yes, Duke Yu." The sound of training resounded in the camp. Numerous cavalrymen galloped forward and forth, practicing the tactics to deal with demons. Although the valiant Dragon Camp had won the battle in Tongtian Province and the Mingshan Corps of Shangyang City probably wouldn't have a chance to encounter demons again, they still practiced this tactic, hoping to have another chance to fight demons again one day. Although the valiant Dragon Camp had won the battle in Tongtian Province and the Mingshan Corps of Shangyang City probably wouldn't have a chance to encounter demons again, they still practiced this tactic, hoping to fight demons again one day. Below the Yuan Gate there were messy horse hoofprints. It was muddy after the rain. Pa! A pair of pure black battle boots stepped into the muddy water. A large part of the golden cloak behind Feng Jixing had been blasted away by the magic crystal cannons, and there were many gray marks on his face. He appeared to be in a very sorry state. When he stepped into the Yuan Gate, a group of captaincy from the Mingshan Corps came up to him and went down on one knee. "Greetings, Prince Xin. Rise. Where's the Southern Duke?" "The Southern Duke is waiting for your highness in the camp. He sent us to receive you." "Is that so?" Feng Jisheng's eyes narrowed and he said with strong killing intent, "Lead the way." Yes. The group quickly entered the central tent. They saw Xiang Yu taking off his military uniform and carefully removing the star insignia on his collar. He was only wearing a set of white clothes and appeared calm. "Southern Duke, what's the meaning of this?" Feng Jisheng asked with a frown. Xiang Yu turned and cupped his fists. "I, Xiang Yu, have not been able to control my wife well, causing the people of Shangyang City to be implicated for no reason. Prince Xian almost died as well. Xiang Yu knows that he has committed a grave sin and is willing to be stripped of his military rank. I only wish to be a lowly soldier and continue to serve the Empire. I hope that Your Highness can grant my wish." What a move to advance by retreating. Feng Jisheng let out a cold laugh in his heart and said, "Southern Duke, you're doing this to protect Tang Wei, right?" "Yes." Xiang Yu's gaze was stern as he said, "Tang Wei is Duke Lan's granddaughter. Back then Duke Lan betrothed Tang Wei to me, and I owe him a great debt of gratitude. When Her Highness was still around, Xiang Yu had a debt of gratitude toward her. Xiang Yu can't let Her Highness down either. Therefore I can only do this. I hope that Your Highness Prince Xian will agree to my request and strip me of all my titles and military ranks. I only hope that you can spare Tang Wei's life." A group of generals in the surroundings dropped to their knees and shouted, "Your Highness, the Southern Country Duke is a meritorious minister of the country. Prince Xian, please show mercy and pardon Princess Tang Wei for her rash action this time around." Feng Jisheng felt extremely pressured. This was Xiang Yu's territory, and all the generals here were Xiang Yu's men. There was also an army of 100,000 soldiers outside. Therefore, Feng Jisheng did not dare to act too recklessly. "Your Highness, please pardon Tang Wei's death sentence." Xiang Yu knelt down on one knee and said. Feng Jisheng fell silent for a few seconds. Then he suddenly raised his palm gently, and a stream of wind element law's divine powers supported Xiang Yu's arms. Xiang Yu gritted his teeth and also circulated his divine powers to contend against Feng Jisheng's powers. Two waves of domain powers clashed in the air, and in the blink of an eye, Xiang Yu's forehead was already covered in sweat. On the contrary, Feng Jisheng appeared to be more relaxed. His forged immortal character kept on absorbing the spiritual powers in the world to replenish his depleted divine powers. With such domains contending against each other, Feng Jisheng was naturally at an advantage. Xiang Yu felt a chill in his heart. This time around he was certain that Feng Jisheng's cultivation had surpassed his in all aspects. Even if he were to rebel and take action here, he might not be able to kill Feng Jisheng. On the contrary, he would end up as a disloyal minister. Once Feng Jisheng returned to Sunset City and raised an army of 300,000, it would be his end. Thinking up to there, Xiang Yu slowly stood up with Feng Jisheng's power, and his face was filled with guilt. Feng Jisheng couldn't help but secretly find it funny. He said, "This isn't Duke Nan's crime, so naturally no one will punish Duke Nan for his crimes. However, Tang Wei's attempt to assassinate this prince is a serious matter, and she must be punished. From today onwards, Tang Wei will be stripped of her title as a princess, and she will be placed under house arrest in the Duke Nan residence. She will not be allowed to interact with anyone, and she will not be allowed to participate in any political or military affairs for the rest of her life. Violators will be executed immediately. In addition, take out 5 million Jining coins from Shangyang City's treasury to compensate the families of those who died." Xiang Yu hurriedly knelt down again. "Thank you, Your Highness, for your pardon." At the back, Tang Wei's face was ferocious. She pointed at Feng Jisheng and scolded, "Feng Jisheng, you are a dog of the Qin family and a dog that bites. Just you wait, there will be a day when you will get your retribution. I curse you to die under the sword." Impudent. Feng Jisheng raised his palm abruptly, and dimensional powers pierced through space, landing a loud slap on Tang Wei's face. Immediately, 5 lines of guidance appeared very clearly. Feng Jisheng's countenance turned cold as he said, "Tang Wei, you've done disobedient things time and time again. It's one thing that Her Highness tolerated you when she was still alive, but now that you've failed to assassinate me, you're still spouting nonsense. How could Duke Lan have such a foolish descendant? If you're not a pig, then watch how Princess she will be revered by the people of the world. As for you, you'll only be reviled by the people of the world. Don't be impudent anymore, or else you'll have to bear the consequences." Xiang Yu was so frightened that he broke out in cold sweat. Feng Jisheng had acted too quickly, and he didn't even understand how his attack could land on Tang Wei's face from 10 meters away. Right now, Feng Jisheng's cultivation was too terrifying. "Your Highness, please calm down. I'll take care of my wife." Xiang Yu's countenance turned cold. Men, send Tang Wei into a room in the manor and lock the door tightly. Without my permission, no one is to let her out. Yes. 2 guards went up and held Tang Wei's arms. When she wanted to continue cursing, they used a piece of cotton cloth to cover her mouth. Xiang Yu could not help but take in a deep breath. If he had a choice, he would probably never be willing to face this arrogant and foolish woman, Tang Wei, in this lifetime. Feng Jixing threw a glance at Xiang Yu and said, "Southern Duke, it's really hard on you." Xiang Yu was at a loss, not knowing what Feng Jixing's words meant. "Let's go." Feng Jixing turned, pressed his hand on the hilt of the Crimson Phoenix saber, and said, "Accompany me for a walk in the military camp. I want to see if the Mingshan army's battle prowess has improved or not." "Yes, Your Highness." "Men, prepare a horse for Your Highness." In the empire's northern border, Yunzhong Province had a vast territory, and it was the largest province in the entire Great Qin Empire. At the same time, it was also one of the most prosperous provinces. Its commercial prosperity was second only to the Northern Ridge Province, where the imperial capital, Lanyan City, was located. At the same time, its military strength was not inferior to the imperial capital. After the reconstruction of the Iron Blade Army, it had a scale of nearly 200,000 soldiers, under the personal command of Northern Duke Luo Xian. In Muyu City, the winter snow from a few days ago had not yet melted, but the sky was filled with heavy snowflakes. Just as the warlocks had said, it had been a cold spring for the past few years. Perhaps the entire spring would be spent in heavy snow. In the Duke's mansion, Luo Xian walked to the courtyard with an iron spear in his hand, letting the snow fall on him. He raised his face, enjoying the falling snow, closed his eyes and said, "How's the war in the north?" Next to him, a general with 2 stars on his shoulders cupped his fists and said, "Duke of North, the northern desert has only sent a small force this time, no more than 3,000 people. They are only here to harass the villages and counties in the northern region. I have already sent 10,000 soldiers with heavy shields to defend against the northern desert archers with heavy shields and long spears. If the northern desert is not eliminated, it will always be a big problem for us." Luo Xian said lightly. "I understand. But it is snowing now and it is difficult to transport food. If we send cavalry, I am afraid the fodder for the horses will be a big problem. Besides what?" Luo Xian looked back at him. "Besides, the tribes in the northern desert are connected to the 8 wilderness plain in the northeast. The southern Nan family of the demons is stationed there. They have 100,000 cavalry. Once the southern Nan family gets involved, I am afraid we will suffer a great loss." "Got it." Luo Xian's eyes lit up and he said, "Pass down my order. Hold the northern line of defense. Don't take the initiative to attack. As long as we hold the line, the northern desert and the demons can't do anything to us." "Yes, Duke of the North is wise. I will do it now." Chapter 720. Pa. In Tongtian City, the sound of birds flapping their wings reverberated in the air. Wei Chou, who was sitting on the railing of the pavilion, was surrounded by strands of ghostly power as his eyelashes fluttered up and down. He only opened his eyes when this power was completely transferred into his qi, only to see a messenger bird hopping on the grass beside him with a letter tube tied to its leg. Was Yu Yu's letter. Gently opening his hand, the messenger bird spread its wings and flew to Wei Chou's palm. Taking out the letter from the tube and looking at it carefully, Wei Chou's face could not help but turn livid. "What is it? Whose letter is it?" Not far away, Situ Sin, who was drinking wine, asked. "It's the commander's." Wei Chou was still used to treating Lin Muyu as the commander of the Longdan army camp, even though in fact he was the rightful commander of the Brave Dragon army. Situ Sin asked, "What did His Highness say?" "See for yourself." Situ Sin took the letter and just glanced at it before turning pale with fright. "This? His Highness is not coming back and only ordered us to launch an attack?" "Yes." Wei Chou said lightly. He ordered the 200,000 troops of the Brave Dragon army to launch a large-scale attack and use the magic crystal cannons to break the demon race's sky canopy and attack the Tong Tian Gorge step by step, clearing the demon race from the Tong Tian Gorge. At this time, Feng Shi walked over with his helmet under his armpit. He seemed to have heard the conversation between the two and said, "His Highness must have other important things to do." "But..." Wei Chou hesitated for a moment. Feng Shi smiled. "This subordinate can somewhat understand Your Highness's decision. Now that the Longdan army camp has a strong army, coupled with Marquis Wei Minulin's external troops, We have a total of 300,000 troops in Lingdong province. In addition, we have several thousand magic crystal cannons and close to 200,000 magic crystal cannons. Adding Ouyang Yen and Lord Chu Chu, the two God Realm experts, the demons are no longer a match for us. Even if your highness isn't here, we can still defeat the demons. Duke Wei has ruled the Longdan army camp for many years, don't you have the confidence to do so? His highness has given you this mission, which proves his trust in your strength. Wei Chou couldn't help but laugh. I understand. Sidu Sin took a deep breath. When do we attack? We have been waiting for this day for a long time. The equipment is ready, the rations are sufficient. Then, pass down the order. We will attack Heaven's Gorge tomorrow. No one is allowed to enter rashly. After entering Heaven's Gorge, build a camp every 10 miles, until the entire Heaven's Gorge becomes our camp. Yes, this subordinate understands. A heavy snow fell on the eastern border of Lingdong province. The sky was filled with goose feather-like snowflakes. On the eastern coast, the sound of the tide was endless. The sound of the wind was like a million marching troops. The snow on the beach had accumulated to a thickness of nearly 20 centimeters, and there were 2 lines of footprints on the snow. At the edge of the sea, a young man and a young woman were looking at the East Sea in the distance, feeling extremely carefree and heroic. Mu, you didn't bring me here just to look at the sea, did you? Tang Xiaoxi raised her hand to tighten the collar of her robe and said with a smile, in my impression, you're not a very romantic person, especially towards me. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile and held Tang Xiaoxi's hand, saying, don't worry, from now on, I will treat you the same way I treat Xiaoyin. The knot in my heart has been untied, I won't restrain myself like that anymore. Really? Of course, but this time, I really didn't come to the eastern coast to take you out for a walk. Then why? Tang Xiaoxi narrowed her beautiful crescent moon-like eyes and asked with a smile. Little Shi, do you feel anything? It's right here. Feel? Tang Xiaoxi was confused. No, I just feel cold. It's not cold. When you breathe the air here, do you feel different from before? No. Tang Xiaoxi pouted. What's wrong with you? I don't know either. Lin Muyu frowned and said, you just feel that there's something different in the air. What is it? I can't explain it clearly. These days I've been feeling that there's something in the east fusing into the air, like... He pondered for a long time and said, like an invisible element has entered our world, so I always feel a vague uneasiness in my heart, feeling that there must be something in the east. The East Sea is a forbidden area, no one has been able to go there for tens of thousands of years. You're not thinking of challenging it, are you? Yes, I really want to go and have a look. Lin Muyu widened her eyes and looked at the endless East Sea, saying, I'm now one of the 3 kings of the empire, I must protect this land until Xiaoyin comes back. I feel a faint threat from the east. If I don't go and have a look, I won't be able to sleep well. But... Tang Xiaoxi pursed her red lips, I've just found you and we haven't even had a few good days together, but you want to bring me to court death. If I feel so wronged. Haha, it's fine, you stay here and wait for me, I'll be back soon, I'll definitely be back in a day and night. No, I want to go with you, I'm worried about you going alone. All right. Lin Muyu nodded. Then, when do we leave? Let's go now. Okay. 2 rays of light shot into the sky, flying close to the sea surface towards the distant sea, instantly reaching supersonic speed. Not long after, the sky was filled with dense clouds, lightning flashing. It was the storm domain, also the forbidden area of the East Sea. Fly there directly. Lin Muyu smiled, her body wrapped in dense supreme divine power, and like 2 sharp arrows, she shot through the entire storm domain with Tang Xiaoxi, directly arriving at the other side of the storm domain. Further ahead, it was still a boundless sea. Occasionally, a few small islands appeared, but there were no inhabitants on them. Just like that, after flying for half a day, it was still the sea in front of them. Immediately, Tang Xiaoxi felt a little uneasy. There's not even a place to rest. Mu, are we still going to continue flying forward? Once we run out of energy, we'll drown, or be eaten by the sharks in the deep sea. Lin Muyu frowned. The faintly discernible power in her spirit sense also seemed to be a little blurry. Could it be an illusion? Was it really just a boundless sea in the east and there was nothing else at all? At this moment, Tang Xiaoxi suddenly pointed to the south. Look, there's something over there. On the surface of the sea, there were a few small black figures. Lin Muyu hurriedly turned around and flew over. As she got closer, she realized that it was a few warships, and the flag on the bow was very familiar. It was actually the flag of the Yihe nation. Could it be Long Qianlin and Ding Shi's men? Without another word, Lin Muyu flew straight over and landed on the deck with a bang. Who's there? A group of Iha Nation soldiers on the warships pulled out their weapons and pointed them straight at Lin Muyu. Among them, those with slightly sharper eyes already recognized them. Oh my god, it seems to be the Empire's Qin Emperor Lin Muyu and the Fugua Princess Tang Xiaoxi. Lin Muyu walked leisurely on the deck and said, "Call your highest officer over to speak." A man with the insignia of a Chiliarch on his shoulder walked over and said, "I am Iha Nation's Chiliarch Zhang Wanchang. Greetings to the Qin Emperor Lin Muyu and Princess Tang Xiaoxi." "Zhang Wanchang, where are you going?" Lin Muyu asked. Zhang Wanchang said respectfully, "Reporting to your highness under the Dragon Commander's orders, we are heading to the outer regions of the East Sea in search of a new world." "A new world?" "Yes, we are only 3 scout warships in charge of exploring a new territory." Zhang Wanchang looked very cautious as he said, "Iha Nation is already declining. The food on the dragon-shaped island can't feed so many people, so we can only look for a new place to live. I hope that your highness can let us go. I thank you for sparing my life. How can you be sure that there is a new land on the sea?" Tang Xiaoxi asked. "We are not sure." Zhang Wanchang shook his head and said bitterly, "This is the 7th day of our voyage. If the wind is with us we can still sail. Otherwise we can only rely on the sailors to row. However, this is our mission. If we can't find a new land we can only die on the sea. The food on the ship can last for another 40 days. After 40 days we will probably die." Lin Muyu smiled faintly and patted Zhang Wanchang's shoulder. "Then I wish you good luck. Oh yes, if you can go back alive and see Long Chenlin, remember to tell him that I will always remember Chu Huayin's death. One day I will take his head to comfort Chu Huayin and Qin Lei's souls in heaven." "Yes." Lin Muyu nodded at Tang Xiaoxi. The two of them stepped on the ground and flew up, disappearing from everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. There wasn't a single island nearby. The continuous flight had indeed caused Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi to feel exhausted. They needed to eat and rest. Moreover, Lin Muyu's spiritual pulse technique had explored a radius of nearly 200 miles. There weren't any strong energy waves within 200 miles. It seemed that the East Sea was really just a boundless sea. They turned back and returned to the Empire's territory. 3 days later, the 3 warships from Iha Nation were still slowly sailing in the sea. Zhang Wanchang's hand was on the hilt of his sword. He held onto the railing and looked into the distance. His face was indescribably lonely. Perhaps he was really going to die in this boundless sea? However, as the 3 warships were sailing slowly, everyone didn't notice a figure in the sky looking at them from afar. Zhang Wanchang's cultivation was higher, so he was the first to feel that something was wrong. He quickly raised his head and a sharp light appeared in his eyes. "Who is it?" Swoosh. A figure broke the space crack and stood directly 100 meters away from the bow of the warship. It was a middle-aged expert in his 40s. He was wearing thick armor and his face was full of arrogance. His eyes were as sharp as swords, which made people shudder. He said, "Those who trespass into the sea of the Qinji Empire will be killed without mercy." "Who are you?" Zhang Wanchang said angrily. "The dead don't need to know so much." The newcomer laughed. "Shield wall, bows and arrows." Zhang Wanchang ordered hurriedly. Dozens of soldiers from Iha Nation quickly formed a shield wall. However, the unfamiliar expert in the distance suddenly raised his arm. Divine power was enshrouded in his palm, and he suddenly struck with his palm. Bang! The main warship was the first to bear the brunt of the attack, and it was smashed into pieces along with the seawater. Oh my god! The group of soldiers from Iha Nation were scared out of their wits, but they couldn't escape. The other 2 warships were also destroyed by the unfamiliar expert's 2 subsequent palm strikes. He floated above the water, raised his hand, and grabbed the neck of a squad leader of Iha Nation who had fallen into the water. He said with a smile, "Let's go. Follow me to see His Majesty. Your tongue is very precious." Chapter 721. Jejia, a bone-chilling cry rang out from the barren land. No one knew what creature it was, but there was no doubt that the beasts living in the land of exile were powerful existences that could kill without leaving a trace. This was a huge hunting ground, a publicly acknowledged hunting area for the survivors of the land of exile. In reality, the hunting ground was just a restricted area. If it wasn't for the powerful beasts living here, then the environment was rather vile. However, the wealth hidden in the hunting ground couldn't be ignored. Whether it was the beasts hunted or the spoils of war from fighting humans, it was enough to make anyone's eyes turn red. After half a month of recuperation, the bullet hole on General Tai's shoulder was nearly healed. He held his bow in his hand, and a demon spirit that had grown up a lot followed beside him. Perhaps she wasn't a girl anymore but a young girl. In just half a month the demon spirit had grown a lot taller. She was about 1.6 meters tall, about 16 years old, and the tip of her budding beauty could already be seen. Although she was only wearing a simple beast skin dress, it couldn't hide her natural beauty. The beast skin wrapped around her pair of rapidly developing peaks, ready to burst out. There were 2 daggers at her waist, the tips of the daggers moving up and down as she walked. The enchanting S-shaped curve made General Tai couldn't help but take another look. This demon spirit was indeed a monster. She was already devastatingly beautiful at such a young age. Gulp. General Tai couldn't help swallowing his saliva. The young girl walked quietly, her brows slightly knitted as she said, "Dad, this is the hunting ground?" "That's right, the hunting ground." General Tai nodded and looked around. The hunting ground was filled with wreckage from another world. There were some rusty mechs wrapped in steel and some broken ship cabins. These were all things that had been banished from another world. However, as long as they came to the land of exile, they were already seen as a pile of trash. There was no energy in the land of exile. Be it mechs or battleships, they couldn't operate anymore. Furthermore, there wasn't even a pile of bones to be seen in the hunting ground. It wasn't that no one had died here, but that they had been eaten after they died. "Be careful." General Tai suddenly stopped and looked ahead. It was a huge field surrounded by barbed wire. It was like a football field, and it was filled with weeds that were half a person's height. There were also large holes in the barbed wire. No one knew what this place was or what it was used for, but strands of energy pulsated from the weeds. General Tai could not help but frown. He opened his palms slightly, and streams of ruler's combat flames appeared. The corner of the young girl's mouth curled up, as if she had already seen through the danger. She said, "It's a wolf. There's a patch of blood-red hair on its forehead. It's Blood Wolf." General Iron's body trembled. "One of the most bloodthirsty species in the entire banished lands. Looks like we've been targeted by this blood wolf. Be careful, little Yao. Blood wolves aren't radiance beasts. They're extremely powerful and their claws can tear through steel." "Got it?" The young girl's voice was very calm. She had already stepped into the weeds, and with a light push on the barbed wire, the 10-meter-long barbed wire fell down with a crash. It had already rotted into a pile of wreckage. Her beautiful eyes swept the area in front of her and she said faintly, "Dad, in that direction. Shoot an arrow to lure that beast out. I'll kill it." General Tai did not know where the young girl's confidence came from, but he knew that he would definitely reap something if he did as she said. She did not seem like a demon spirit, but more like a demonic creature that was born to hunt demon spirits. As for what exactly she was, General Tai had no idea. Swoosh. The sharp arrow wrapped in a steel arrowhead pierced through the weeds. General Tai possessed the cultivation of the Holy King realm, and his strength was vigorous. This arrow was shot over 1,000 meters, and a howl could be heard from the weeds. Following that, a powerful aura rippled out. As expected, the blood wolf had come. Rustling sounds could be heard as the weeds tumbled continuously. A huge creature pounced over, its forehead covered in blood-red fur and densely packed golden lines. The blood wolf's brown eyes were filled with killing intent as it leaped up and charged at the young girl. Swoosh. The young girl bent her body slightly, and threw the dagger in her left hand. Dang. The blood wolf's fur was surprisingly tough, and the dagger was unable to pierce through its skin. The blood wolf's momentum continued to descend, and with a roar, its sharp claws pounced towards the opponent's chest. The young girl suddenly spun around, bringing with her a small whirlwind and a soft mist, causing the blood wolf's sharp claws to lose direction. Bang! The blood wolf's claws fell into the wilderness. The young girl took advantage of the situation and punched out with her left fist. Her fist was filled with golden energy, a power that General Tai could not see through. Boom! The small fist landed on the blood wolf's neck, and the sound of bones breaking could be heard. Oh no! General Tai was greatly shocked. The blood wolf's bones were exceptionally tough, like steel. This stupid demon spirit actually chose to meet force with force. Wasn't she courting death? However, the thing that broke wasn't the young girl's fist, but the blood wolf's neck. The force of the punch caused the blood wolf to roll back more than 10 meters. The young girl's eyes were shrouded in a layer of blood red. She pounced, opened her mouth and bit the blood wolf's neck. At the same time, the dagger in her right hand stabbed into the blood wolf's heart. Ayo ayo ayo. The blood wolf struggled for a few minutes before it finally stopped moving, dead on the ground. The young girl slowly stood up and wiped the blood from her mouth. In fact, she actually hated the smell of blood. There were a few frightening wounds on her shoulder, the work of the blood wolf's sharp claws. Great, well done. General Tai happily flew forward. This blood wolf was very majestic, at least 150 kilograms, enough to eat for half a month. Moreover, the blood wolf's fur could be used to ward off the cold, and its bones and claws could be made into weapons. In the land of exile, the blood wolf was a great treasure. General Tai didn't even look at the young girl. He was busy moving the spoils of war. A trace of displeasure flashed across the young girl's face. She gently knelt on the ground and stuck out her tongue to lick the wound on her arm. The wound quickly stopped bleeding and then it began to heal. General Tai grabbed the blood wolf's head and slung it over his shoulder. He said with a smile, "This is great. I didn't expect to have such a great harvest on my first trip to the hunting grounds. Little Yao, let's go back. We shouldn't stay here for long." The young girl didn't reply. She stood up and looked into the distance at the depths of the barren land surrounded by the barbed wire. "What's wrong? Is there anything else?" General Tai asked. The young girl didn't say anything. She only nodded slightly. Could there be a big deal? General Tai was overjoyed. He quickly buried the blood wolf's corpse in the bushes and pulled out a shining sword from his waist. He said, "Let's go. Let's bring Dad to have a look." Okay. In the depths of the barbed wire, a dilapidated house sat there. Perhaps it wasn't really a house but a huge shipping container. There were many holes on the outside of the container, and when the cold wind blew, it let out a ghostly howl. The metal door was ajar and it was pitch black inside. Nothing could be seen clearly. "What's wrong? Is there anything inside?" General Tai asked. The girl furrowed her brows but didn't say anything. She quickly sniffed the air with her delicate nose, and a strange smell filled her nose. It was the smell of wine. No one would have thought that there would be wine in the banished lands, and it was a very fragrant wine. Go in and take a look," General Tai said in a commanding tone. The young girl didn't retort. She reached out to push open the rusty metal door. Swoosh. The sound of wind came. It was a military saber. The young girl hurriedly retracted her hand, but it was too late. The saber was too fast and it left a shallow wound on her wrist. As her strength increased, she was no longer injured by ordinary attacks. In fact, the wound didn't even bleed. However, this wasn't the only attack. Suddenly, bolts shot out from the pitch-black house. The young girl's reaction was extremely fast. She quickly bent down and rolled on the ground. The bolts flew past her head and into the bushes, kicking up mud. That was close. Bam. The door suddenly collapsed and a short figure jumped out of the container. It was a dwarf, a human less than a meter tall. He held a shiny steel saber in his hand. It was very eye-catching. The dwarf ran very quickly. As he ran, he cursed, "Darn girl, you actually entered my domain. Just you wait. I'll kill you one day." But the dwarf only took a few steps before he suddenly couldn't move. His body was controlled by a kind of domain power. Looking up, he saw a strong man descending from the sky, waving flames in his palm. The man sneered and said, "Short winter melon, you actually dare to hurt my daughter? Are you courting death?" "You." Before the dwarf could say anything, his head suddenly flew off. General Tai's sword could split mountains, and the dwarf's cultivation was extremely low. How could he be General Tai's match? "Little witch, are you all right?" General Tai asked. The young girl got up from the ground and shook her head. Go in and see what's inside." The young girl stepped in and found that there were a few crossbows that had run out of arrows facing her. A ray of light shone in from the hole in the container, illuminating everything inside. The container was like a treasure trove in the ruins. It was filled with fine wine, and there were also rows of medicine and weapons. The dwarf had probably relied on these to survive in the hunting grounds. Otherwise, with his strength, he would have been killed long ago. On the weapons rack, a short saber that glowed faintly and had words that the young girl didn't recognize engraved on it attracted her attention. The dwarf's weapons were not ordinary sharp. The young girl immediately fell in love with it. She grabbed the short saber and hung it at her waist. At that moment, General Tai walked into the container and quickly sniffed. He couldn't help but laugh out loud. "Great, this is heaven. There's wine. My God, there's actually tequila. There's even canned food. Ah, this dwarf really knows how to enjoy himself." Chapter 722. General Tai almost danced with joy. Canned food had a very long shelf life and could be stored for a very long time, and these wines were supreme treasures. Coupled with the weapons, medicines, and so on, it was like he had discovered a paradise. Unfortunately, this was a hunting ground, and there would be other hunters coming to visit. General Tai didn't feel that his Saint King realm cultivation was enough to protect these treasures, so he decided to take them back to his residence. Just like that, after 3 trips, most of the treasures were finally sent back to the cave he lived in before nightfall. After piling up a large amount of resources, the cave seemed much more crowded. General Tai found some salt and spices from the treasures, chopping off one of the blood wolf's legs and starting to cook delicious meat soup. Meanwhile, the girl continued to sit quietly on the meadow, staring at the wound on her wrist in a daze. After a long time, the fragrance of the meat soup grew stronger. "Hey, little witch." General Tai suddenly looked at her and asked, "Do you drink?" The girl shook her head slowly. "You don't drink?" General Tai frowned and said, "Every night in the banished lands is extremely cold. It's impossible not to drink. This fine wine is good stuff. Not only can it ward off the cold, but it can also make a person drunk, making them forget all their worries. Come, have some with your father?" The girl shook her head. "I don't drink." "What did you say?" General Tai raised his eyebrows. "You dare to disobey even your father's words?" "I don't drink." The girl's voice was very calm, but it was unquestionable. She sat there quietly and didn't say another word. Tui, what a freak. I'm afraid she doesn't understand human language. General Tai was in a good mood, so he didn't argue with her. He filled a bowl with meat and threw it to the demon, then grabbed the wolf's leg bone and took big bites of the juicy meat. He chewed, then opened a bottle of wine and gulped it down. After taking a big gulp, he shouted, "This is great." "Ah, great." The girl didn't say a word as she watched General Tai gulp it down. In the middle of the night, the pot of meat was almost finished. Behind General Tai were 4 empty wine bottles. His face was flushed red as he leaned against the wall of the cave in a drunken stupor. He gently rubbed his stomach, his face filled with satisfaction. At this moment he glanced at the demon spirit 2 meters away. Once again he realized that this demon spirit was simply a heaven-sent beauty. Under the dim light of the bonfire, the demon spirit's exquisite face was beautiful beyond compare. Her pair of beautiful eyes were as clear as crystal. She quietly sat there with the corner of her mouth slightly raised, making her appear extremely charming. Her pure face and flirtatious figure fused together with the darkness of the night, making people unable to resist falling into a daze. "Little Yao, come to Daddy," General Tai ordered as he leaned against the wall. The girl didn't say anything and just sat quietly on the meadow. "Umph." General Tai stood up. Although he was drunk, his steps were extremely steady. He approached in a few steps and grabbed the demon spirit's wrist. His eyes flickered with a sharp light as he said, "What's wrong? Are you trying to rebel? Don't forget, if I hadn't saved you, you would have been snatched away by a hungry wolf." The demon spirit raised her head and looked at him in silence. Perhaps the demon spirit didn't know what was about to happen. General Tai looked down and saw the beast's skin covering the demon spirit's chest slightly open, revealing a captivating redness. This caused his desire to surge even more. He quickly grabbed the demon spirit's other hand as his eyes flickered with desire. "The banished land is a silent domain. The heavens must have pitied me and bestowed you to me. Since you've become my daughter, then you should let Daddy enjoy your body. Otherwise, how are we going to get through the long night? Don't resist, don't force my hand." The demon spirit calmly looked at him and said, "Daddy, are you hurting me?" "What did you say?" General Tai asked impatiently. The demon spirit's gaze was calm. "Daddy said that you'll kill everyone who hurts me. And now you're hurting me. What nonsense are you talking about?" General Tai grinned. "I'm helping you understand the joys of being a woman. After tonight, you'll naturally understand everything. You'll realize that you'll never be able to leave Daddy again. Let go." The demon spirit's voice was very calm, but it sounded like a command. "Stop struggling, it's useless." General Tai's mind was in a mess. He moved his stubbly mouth towards the girl's neck, but before he could get within 10 centimeters, he suddenly felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. It was the girl kicking him with all her might. "Arg?" General Tai retreated a few steps in pain, almost unable to straighten his back. His face was covered in beads of sweat. He suddenly pulled out the long sword at his waist and said angrily, "Little whore, I can save you, but I can also kill you." Whoosh. The sword turned into a streak of light, stabbing towards the girl's chest. However, after a clang, the sword only pierced into the rock wall. The young girl had latched onto General Tai's right arm like a phantom. Her snow-white legs abruptly stomped on the rock wall, and General Tai's arm pulled out the steel sword. "What are you trying to do?" General Tai's face paled involuntarily. With a crack, the girl's palm swept out, snapping General Tai's wrist. His entire wrist was deformed, but his hand was still holding onto the long sword. She pressed the long sword against his chest at a strange angle and slowly pushed it in, causing blood to flow out. The girl gripped General Tai's sword-wielding hand tightly and said softly, "Daddy said that he'll kill everyone who bullies me." General Tai could not move at all. He was a Holy King realm expert, but under the girl's control, he was unable to retaliate at all. Just like that, he pierced his own heart with his own sword. Clang! The blade pierced through General Tai's body and nailed him into the rock wall. Just like that, he was nailed to the wall. The girl bent down and grabbed the wild grass around the meadow to wipe the blood off her palm. She looked at General Tai's corpse with a seductive and beautiful smile. "Daddy, I'll live on well in the land of exile. I won't be bullied by anyone. Go in peace." Swoosh. He spat out a purple flame from his palm, and in the blink of an eye, the flames engulfed General Tai's corpse, reducing it to a pile of ash. Even the steel sword, which was not of a low grade, was melted. What a high-temperature flame. A blood moon hung high in the sky, causing the entire land of exile to become even more violent. Rustle. The barefooted girl walked out of the cave, stepping on the sand and stones. She looked at the blood moon and stars in the sky and could not help but sigh. "What am I? What am I?" Roar. The roar of a wild beast came from afar. The girl grasped the hilt of the sword at her waist. With a slight force from her palm, a blood-red flame enshrouded the sword. In the blink of an eye, the steel sword made by the dwarves was burned red. But strangely, the steel sword did not show any signs of melting. Instead, it made a clanging sound. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of cannon fire rang out continuously in the northern region of the Tongtian province. Purplish-red mushroom clouds rose into the sky, causing the huge blue canopy to buzz. After more than 10 consecutive cannon attacks, the canopy finally ran out of energy and collapsed. The energy barrier that had separated humans and demons for tens of thousands of years had finally disappeared under the iron hooves of war. The bombardment of the magic crystal cannons brought with it streams of sharp air currents, causing the imperial war flag in the Longdan army camp to flutter. Everyone raised their shields to resist the impact of the air currents. Wei Chou rode on his warhorse and formed an astral wall in front of him. He narrowed his eyes and said, "The canopy is gone. An era is coming to an end." Sidu Sin gripped his sword. King's combat flames surged into his arms. He smiled and said, "Give the order. I'll lead my brothers and kill our way in." "Don't be in such a hurry." Wei Chou waved his hand and said, "Order the heavy artillery unit to move 5 kilometers forward, and then we'll move. If we can flatten the entire Tongtian Gorge without losing a single soldier, why not?" "Yes, I understand." Battle banners fluttered in the wind as they entered the Heaven's Gorge in an orderly formation. Hundreds of savage tribe soldiers pushed the magic crystal cannons into the Heaven's Gorge, emitting an unpleasant sound as the cannons rumbled. And in the distance, nearly 10 miles away, the demon army was already waiting in formation. Qian Feng was not willing to give up on the Heaven's Gorge. There were even huge black shadows slowly moving in the sky. They were giant flying snakes. "They've sent out the flying snakes." Sidu Sin swallowed his saliva. Wei Chou nodded and waved his hand, saying, "Heavy artillery battalion, dispatch the gooseneck cannons to defend against the enemy. The giant flying snakes must be killed 2 kilometers away." Yes. Small magic crystal cannons were pushed out one after another. They weighed less than a third of the magic crystal cannons. Moreover, the cannons were extremely long, rising into the sky like a goose's neck. These were magic crystal cannons modified by Qin Ziling. They were specially designed for the giant flying snakes and had a firing range of 3 kilometers. Moreover, their accuracy was much better than ordinary magic crystal cannons. Lin Muyu would never fight a battle she was not confident of winning. If she did not know all this, she would not have mobilized her troops so easily. At this time, the dragon-shaped island was also busy. Warships gathered at the port, and the neighing of warhorses could be heard from the land. Densely packed soldiers carried armor, weapons, and other strategic resources to the ships. Smoke rose from the open ground in the depths of the island, and anyone could tell that a great battle was imminent. In the Iha country's palace, Qin Yi's face was pale. He held the handle of the king's blade and said, "Is everything ready?" "Don't worry, Commander." Ding Shi, dressed in military attire, knelt on one knee and said, This subordinate will soon leave the dragon-shaped island with General Long. I hope that commander will take care of himself. Qin Yi's expression was somewhat reluctant. He moved his aged feet down the steps and held Ding Shi's arms. His voice trembled as he said, "Old friend, it's been so many years. I know you hate war, but I've ordered you to participate time and time again. As long as this time we can return to Lingnan, I won't force you to do anything you don't want." Ding Shi smiled slightly. "Commander, save these words for the future. I don't even know if I can return alive." Qin Yi. At this time, a messenger's voice came from outside the palace. "Commander, someone has sent a map. He said that he must present it to you." "What map?" Chapter 723. In the sky above dragon-shaped island, two figures stood thousands of meters high. The people on the ground couldn't see them at all, but they could see everything on dragon-shaped island. They were none other than Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi, who had just returned from the East Sea. "Do you think Qin Yi will give up?" Tang Xiaoxi asked. "I don't know," Lin Muyu frowned. "First of all, Qin Yi might not believe our map. Second, Qin Yi is old. Returning to his homeland is his biggest dream. He might not be able to resist this temptation." "Xiaoxi, have you really informed Minulin's army?" "Yes." Tang Xiaoxi was a little worried. "Mu, I actually don't understand. Why did we tell the Iha nation about the celestial pole continent? I'm afraid only the two of us know about this in the entire Shattered Cauldron realm. Why did we tell the Iha nation instead of letting the Empire take precautions?" Lin Muyu clenched her fists. Regardless of whether what the people on the merchant ship said is true or not, the existence of the celestial pole continent is already inevitable. The Iha nation is on Dragon-shaped Island, which is located in the east of Lingdong province. If the celestial pole continent really attacks, Dragon-shaped Island will probably be the first to bear the brunt. At that time, Long Qianlin and Ding Shi will become the first line of defense for the humans of the Shattered Cauldron realm. I don't want them to die in vain. A day ago, Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi had found a cargo ship that had gotten lost on the sea in the East Sea. From there, they learned about the tip of the iceberg of the celestial pole continent. It was a plane that was completely different from the Shattered Cauldron realm. Furthermore, it was also a powerful enemy in the future. The existence of the celestial pole continent made Lin Muyu and Tang Xiaoxi confused, let alone others. "I really hope the people on that cargo ship are lying to us," Tang Xiaoxi said softly. "The possibility isn't high," Lin Muyu said with a frown. "If that's the case, the Qin Empire will be in imminent danger." "Yeah." Lin Muyu thought for a while and said, "For now, we can only hope that the Longdan army camp can quickly eliminate the devil race and sweep away the scourge of the devil race. Then the whole empire can work together to resist the upcoming war. If it wasn't for the fact that I had to quickly return to set up a defense, I really wanted to go to the celestial pole continent and see what that continent, which is on the same plane as us, looks like." Tang Xiaoxi remained silent. In the palace hall of the dragon-shaped island, a simple map was unfolded. Qin Yi, Long Qianlin, Marquis Sunset Manning, Ding Shi, and the others were looking at it together. "How is this possible?" Man Ning wriggled his chubby palm, took the wine cup from the waiter and said, "To the east of the dragon-shaped island is an endless sea. For tens of thousands of years, I've never heard of another continent. How is this possible?" Qin Yi narrowed his eyes and said, "General Long, this map was sent by a mysterious person. Do you think the celestial pole continent really exists?" Long Qianlin cupped his fists and said, "Commander-in-Chief, let's not talk about whether this celestial pole continent really exists or not. However, the map's records are reasonable and based on evidence. It even marks the military strength of the three empires in the celestial pole continent. I think we have to guard against it." Ding Shi stretched out his palm and stroked the rough map. The figures on it were just drawn. He thought for a while and read the words on it, saying, "The total area of the celestial pole continent is more than 7 times that of the Shattered Cauldron realm. It is ruled by 3 empires. Among them, the Tianji Empire is the strongest, with 800,000 elite troops. The Celestial Empire has the largest territory, occupying 40% of the continent. Its 6 major armies have a total military strength of 1.5 million. The Blackstone Empire has the smallest territory and the smallest population, but it also has 500,000 elite troops. If what is recorded on this map is true, I'm afraid that the doomsday has come for both the Iha Empire and the Qin Empire." Qin Yi said, "Now that our 3 armies are on standby, are we going to attack the Lingkong province or not? If we miss this opportunity to strike with Qianfeng, I'm afraid there won't be a next time. Qin Huan said, "Father, don't think so much. Let's attack. This is a great opportunity for us to take revenge. The majority of the Longdan army camp's troops have already entered the Heavenly Gorge. The Lingkong province and the Lingdong province are both empty. Our 200,000 troops are enough to wipe them out." "What happens after wiping them out?" Ding Shi frowned and said, "We and the Empire will both suffer heavy losses. At that time, if the Celestial Pole continent really starts a war, how are we going to contend against them?" Qin Huan's face was filled with disdain. He laughed loudly and said, "Commander Ding is indeed old. A groundless map is enough to stop you in your tracks. With your courage, I'm afraid it'll be very difficult for you to lead the Iha Empire's warriors back to their homeland." Long Qianlin was stunned. Qin Huan was openly provoking Ding Shi like this. How could this old general endure it? "Young Highness, we need to consider this matter at length." "What? Is Commander Long afraid too?" Qin Huan said indifferently. "Not afraid but worried." Long Qianlin said, "We've sent out so many fast ships to search for new land in the Eastern Sea region, but not a single one has returned. What does this mean? If it weren't for the powerful sea fleets in the distant sea region, I wouldn't be able to provide a reasonable explanation for this matter. Being afraid of wolves in front and tigers behind, how are you going to restore the Iha Empire?" Qin Huan's expression was extremely unsightly. He was in the pro-war faction. Being the young highness of a mere dragon-shaped island obviously couldn't be compared to being the young highness of the Lingdong. "Are we going to fight or not?" Marquis Man Ning narrowed his eyes. "I think it's better to let the commander decide." Qin Yi sighed helplessly and waved his hand. "Forget it. Since the two marshals have no intention to fight, let's just sit on the mountain and watch the tigers fight. Hopefully Qian Feng can consume more of the Empire's military power." Ding Shi and Long Qianlin glanced at each other in silence. They looked at the map in front of them with ashen faces. 3 days later, the devil race retreated step by step. More than half of the Heavenly Gorge was already under the control of the Longdan army camp. Lin Muyu left Tang Xiaoxi and Ouyang Yen to guard the Longdan army camp. She had to go to the Eastern Sea region to take a look. The existence of the Celestial Pole continent was like a nightmare tormenting him. The Shattered Cauldron realm hadn't been unified yet, and a new powerful enemy had appeared out of nowhere. He secretly lamented his bitter fate. He originally thought that he would be able to return with beauties after fighting for 10 years in the Shattered Cauldron realm. Now, it seemed that he would have to fight for another 10 years. Moreover, the outcome was unpredictable. The unknown enemy was really too powerful. Whoosh. After flying non-stop for nearly a day, Lin Muyu flew like a sharp arrow with the power to split the waves. She sped across the sea surface. After a careful calculation, she had flown for about 2,000 kilometers. She could already see ships in the distance. Furthermore, the fluttering flags were completely different from those of the Shattered Cauldron realm. Whoosh. With a sway of her body, she soared into the sky and hid among the lingering clouds. Overlooking the sea, a fleet came into view. It was a fleet consisting of at least 50 warships. The leading warship was nearly 200 meters long. Furthermore, it was a fortress ship, and the number of soldiers it carried was definitely not small. Furthermore, there was a huge creature on the deck of the fortress ship. It was a huge lizard with wings and red scales all over its body. Lin Muyu's heart sank. A word was on the verge of coming out of her mouth. Western Dragon? What kind of existence was this celestial pole continent? The flag fluttered in the sea breeze. It was a war flag with red clouds on it. Lin Muyu didn't know which empire it belonged to. She knew almost nothing about this place. She didn't care about that anymore. She had to understand this place first. Lin Muyu's heart was as clear as a mirror. The people of the Shattered Cauldron realm didn't know about the existence of the Celestial Pole continent, and the people of the Celestial Pole continent definitely didn't know about the existence of the Shattered Cauldron realm. Whoever understood the opponent first would have a greater advantage. At night, in a tavern in a small city near the sea in the Celestial Pole continent, a blue-clothed dancer swayed her enchanting body and looked at the customers in the tavern in a licentious manner. She sang an unbearable song, and customers would throw copper coins or even silver coins onto the stage from time to time. There were even bold customers who walked up to her and struck up a conversation. "How much can I pay for you to appear on my bed tonight?" The dancer smiled and didn't say anything. In an inconspicuous corner of the tavern, a young man dressed in a dark blue robe sat there quietly. He held a huge bamboo cup and drank the malt wine inside. To be honest, the wine in the Celestial Pole continent was far inferior to that of the Empire. The tavern was the place where one could understand a plane the best. Lin Muyu had been here for half a day and had a slight understanding of this place. This was just a small city in the Tianji Empire. The flags of those warships she saw during the day were the flags of the Tianji Empire. The emperor of the Tianji Empire was called Baiming Yuan, so this empire belonged to the Baiming clan. The Tianji Empire was very powerful. At least, that was what their people thought. I'm the man who's going to become the sacred martial god. A young and tender voice came from afar. Lin Muyu raised her head and saw a young and tender face. It was a young man who was about 17 or 18 years old, but he had an unruly look on his face. Sacred martial god? With just you? A scorching slap landed on the young man's face. A person who looked like a mercenary stepped on the young man and pressed him down hard a few times. He said, "In the past tens of thousands of years, there have only been 5 sacred martial gods in the empire. Who do you think you are? You want to become a sacred martial god? Wipe my boots clean first, you good-for-nothing who has high expectations but low ability." Bullying was the same in every plane. Lin Muyu didn't meddle in other people's business and continued to drink. At the same time, she learned some things about the cultivation world in the celestial pole continent from the mercenaries' conversations. The classification of strength in the celestial pole continent was very clear. The strongest person was called the sacred martial god, who was at least at the divine emperor realm. There were more than 2 sacred martial gods in the whole continent, which was very terrifying. Next were the sacred martial kings and sacred martial venerables, who had the strength of divine kings and divine venerables. Then came the sacred martial warriors. The sacred martial warriors were experts with the cultivation of the sacred region. They were only legends in small towns like this. Many people had never even seen the legendary sacred martial warriors. The Tianji Empire had a total of 5 sacred martial gods, 11 sacred martial kings, 112 sacred martial venerables, and more than 2,000 sacred martial warriors. Their strength was not ordinary and terrifying. The more Lin Muyu heard, the colder she felt. Did the Shattered Cauldron realm really want to go to war with such a strong enemy? Chapter 724. Hi, brother. A slightly sharp voice sounded in her ear. When Lin Muyu turned around, she saw a young man limping over with a crutch in his hand. He was about 25 years old, wearing white linen clothes with several cloth bags hanging on his waist. His face was full of stubble. He probably didn't have time to take care of it, but the light in his eyes told everyone not to underestimate this lame young man. He sat opposite Lin Muyu and said with a smile, "Only if you buy me a drink, I can help you read your face." Face. Lin Muyu smiled faintly. "Man, give him a glass of wine." Dang. A full glass of barley wine fell in front of the cripple. He didn't rush to drink it. Instead, he took a deep breath and said, "The fragrance of malt wine is really as charming as a girl in the wilderness." As he said this, he drank a big mouthful of wine. His stubble was stained with wine, which looked very unhygienic. Lin Muyu didn't care about this. She just smiled and asked, "Now can you tell me? How is my face?" The huckster, squinted his eyes and carefully looked at Lin Muyu. He said, "Brother, although you are handsome and have an extraordinary appearance, your eyebrows are dark. I am afraid that you will be in big trouble in the next few days. If you keep talking, I guarantee that you will be in big trouble now." As a god, Lin Muyu naturally didn't believe in this kind of fortune-telling. In any case, he was also a god who could listen to the prayers of the people. What fortune-telling? Mortals just believed in it. The killer flashed through Lin Muyu's palm, but the cripple was scared out of his wits. The young man in front of him was obviously not as simple as he looked. The momentum that he emitted was simply suffocating. Maybe he was a young master from the imperial capital who came to this poor place just to travel around the continent. Also, the golden light that flashed through his eyes might be a monster. "What is your name?" Lin Muyu didn't make things difficult for him. Instead, he began to ask questions. He needed someone to tell him everything about the Tianji Empire and the Celestial Pole continent. "Lu Sanpao, people call me Lu Bai." Lu Bai's entire body was trembling, and his voice was trembling as he said, "This kid can be considered somewhat famous in Clear Desolate City. Some people call me Divine Image." Lin Muyu didn't care about these things. Her expression calmed down a little and she said with a smile, "Well, Brother Lini, I've been cultivating in the deep mountains with my family for many years, so I don't know much about the outside world. Can you tell me something about the Tianji Empire and the mainland? I'll treat you to a drink until you're satisfied." Lu Bai was taken aback. It had been a long time since someone had been so extravagant as to treat him to a drink. Moreover, looking at the appearance of this kid in front of him, he really did seem to be a rash young man who had just come out from the depths of the mountains to cultivate. In an instant, Lu Bai's expression became arrogant. He placed one leg on the bench and said arrogantly, "Since that's the case, then little brother, you should listen to your big brother's words. Buddy, give me another jar of wine. I want to drink to my heart's content." "Lu Bai, did you bring enough money?" "Don't worry, I met a benefactor today." A jar of wine was placed firmly in the center of the table. Lu Bai pulled a drumstick from the roasted chicken and gnawed on it until his mouth was greasy. He said, "Brother, since you have cultivated in the mountains for many years, you must have some skills. However, there are many hidden dragons and crouching tigers in the celestial pole continent. Even if you have some skills, you must be careful. Otherwise, you may lose your life because of your rashness one day. This is my first advice to you. Be careful when you encounter problems. Remember, you can't force yourself." Lin Muyu deeply agreed and nodded, "Yes, and then?" Lu Bai wiped the grease from the corner of his mouth and continued, "If you want to talk about the celestial pole continent, this continent is really big. If you run at full speed from the west to the eastern border of the continent, it would take as long as 2 months. Furthermore, there are a total of 5 powerful and invincible forces on the continent. They are divided into 3 great empires and 2 great tribes." "What do you mean?" "The 3 empires are the Tianji Empire, the Celestial Empire, and the Blackstone Empire. They fight every year, but they have never been able to determine the winner in more than 1,000 years. More than 3,000 years ago, there was a supreme overlord who once unified the celestial pole continent, but in less than 100 years his empire collapsed into 3 kingdoms. Among the 3 empires, our Tianji Empire is the strongest. One of the 3 sacred sects in the cultivation world, the Tianji sect, is located in our Tianji Empire. In terms of national strength, the Celestial Empire is second, and the Blackstone Empire is the worst, but we are not too inferior." "Tell me about the cultivation world. What's the matter with the 3 sacred sects?" Lin Muyu asked with a frown. "In fact, it's very simple. It's just like a sect. The continent is divided into several levels according to the strength of the sections. The first is the sacred sect, the second is the king sect, the third is the heavenly sect, and the fourth is the earth sect. The whole celestial pole continent is divided into 3 king sects, which are the Tianji sect, the Tianjue sect, and the Thunder Flame sect. Next are the 7 great sects, 59 heavenly sects, and more than 3,000 earth sects. Some of these sects have only a few people, while some have tens of thousands of people. It's impossible to count them in detail. It's also because these sects constantly provide excellent martial artists for the various empires that the cultivation world of the celestial pole continent can continue to prosper and even be protected by the immortal realm." "Protected by the immortal realm?" Lin Muyu frowned. "What does that mean?" Lu Bai smiled. "I'm not very clear about these supernatural things, although I can see through the mysteries of heaven and know about yin and yang." "Stop bragging. It's too serious." Cough cough. Lu Bai could also see that Lin Muyu was not an ordinary person. He smiled and said, "The people of the celestial pole continent have passed down legends from generation to generation. It's said that the immortal realm once sent gods down to the mortal world to teach the people of the continent how to make fire from wood and how to farm, fish, and weave. Then they imparted martial arts to some people with aptitude, allowing humans to establish a foothold in this world filled with ferocious beasts and demonic spirits and become the rulers." "Farm, fish, and weave?" Lin Muyu looked at the clothes of the people around him. Most of them were wearing cloth clothes, and a small number of mercenaries were wearing coarse hemp clothes. In terms of weaving skills, the celestial pole continent was far inferior to the Shattered Cauldron realm. He smiled slightly and didn't say much. Lu Bai didn't see any clues and continued to speak eloquently. "Next, let's talk about our Tianji Empire. The Tianji Empire ranks second in terms of territory, but in terms of population, prosperity of commerce, and strength of military force, it is deservedly number 1. His Majesty is wise and mighty, and his power is everywhere. Crown Prince Hai has extraordinary cultivation and will be the future leader of the empire. Together with the invincible commander, Baiming Huan, it's enough for the Tianji Empire to stand tall in the northwest of the continent and be called an overlord." "By the way, you just said that there are demonic spirits in the celestial pole continent. What's going on? You actually don't know about demonic spirits?" Lu Bai turned pale with fright and said, "I really don't know what your master taught you. If a cultivator doesn't hunt demonic spirits, how can he prove his strength?" "What exactly is a demonic spirit?" Lin Muyu asked a little awkwardly. Lu Bai stroked his beard and said, The essence of a demonic spirit is a kind of monster. A demonic spirit with high cultivation can change into a human form and take human lives. There are many demonic spirits in the celestial pole continent, and they are also the targets of various forces. However, demonic spirits are too strong and many times the cultivators are hunted down instead. In short, when you meet a demonic spirit, you must be careful. As he spoke, Lu Bai's eyes shone brightly and he said, demonic spirits are divided into 10 grades, from the lowest grade of 10th to the strongest grade of 1st grade. The first grade is called the Demon Emperor, the second grade is called the Demon King, and the third grade is called the Demon Venerable. Little brother, if you meet one of the first 3 grades of demonic spirit, no matter how profound your cultivation is, listen to me and run for your life. If you're lucky, you can marry a wife and have children. Otherwise, I'm afraid you'll die without a burial place. Why will I die without a burial place? Lu Bai smiled. It's very simple. Low-grade demonic spirits like to devour human flesh and blood, completely devouring the human. High-grade demonic spirits are even more cruel. They know how to refine and absorb the essence from the human body. In the end, you will be turned into ashes. It is said that the souls of those who are eaten by the Demon Emperor and Demon King will be eaten as well. Lin Muyu was stunned and didn't say anything. Lu Bai thought that he was afraid and smiled. However, little brother, you don't have to worry. Demonic spirits like to live in remote places. Generally speaking, a city like the one we are in right now has a population of over 100,000. Most of the time, demonic spirits won't come here. If there are too many people, the demonic spirits will also feel afraid. Besides, every province in the empire has Lord Dragon Rider patrolling. If a demonic spirit appears in a city with a population of over 100,000, it will be hunted down. We just have to focus on farming, fishing, and hunting. Dragon Rider? Lin Muyu was slightly stunned. Her mind recalled the huge dragon on the warship she saw on the sea surface. That's right. Lu Bai chuckled and said, they are known as the most powerful army in the celestial pole continent, the Dragon Riders. Every empire has trained a sufficient number of Dragon Riders to deal with the upcoming war. The Tianji Empire's Dragon Rider Legion is very prosperous. During peaceful times, their main mission is to hunt demonic spirits everywhere. Although I have never seen a Dragon Rider, the prestige of the Dragon Riders is known by everyone in the celestial pole continent. As he spoke, Lu Bai looked at Lin Muyu as if he was looking at a freak and said, you are really strange. You don't even know about the Dragon Rider Legion. I really don't know how you grew up. Lin Muyu smiled. She felt that she had more or less understood everything, so she took out a Jinxing coin from her pocket. She gently rubbed it between her palms, and the Jinxing coin immediately turned into a piece of gold. She tossed it to Lu Bai and said, here, thank you for telling me so much. I don't have anything to thank you for. Is Jinxing? Oh, I mean gold, take it as a token of appreciation. Gold? Lu Bai's eyes instantly lit up. He put it in his mouth and took a bite. He was ecstatic. It really is gold. Little brother, you are indeed not an ordinary person. Ah, thank you so much. Just as Lin Muyu stood up and was about to leave, an invisible force suddenly descended from the sky. The entire tavern immediately fell silent. Everyone was already unable to move. A cold voice came from outside. The Tianji Dragon Rider Legion is here on a spirit hunting mission. Those unrelated to this matter, scram immediately. Demonic spirit. Lin Muyu's heart skipped a beat. However, Lu Bai's face was already pale. It's over. We encountered a demonic spirit. The God Cultivation domain will start charging fees again in October. I hope everyone can make a VIP subscription to support Yi Zeech. Chapter 725. On the stage of the tavern, the blue-clothed dancer suddenly stopped dancing. Her beautiful face turned sinister. Her skin suddenly split open from her head, revealing new skin filled with scales in front of everyone's eyes. This caused the guests who had fantasies about her to be frightened out of their wits. This beautiful dancer is actually a high-ranked demon spirit? The demon spirit's body grew larger and larger, expanding to a height of 2 meters. Its upper body had 4 arms filled with sharp claws, and its legs turned into countless feelers to support its body. Its face was extremely ugly and full of scabs like a toad. It looked very scary. Shio, with a wave of its arm, a few heads flew. Demon spirits never asked for a reason when killing. Heavens, it's a demon venerable. So scary, it's a demon venerable. Someone exclaimed exaggeratedly. Instantly, Lu Bai was so scared that he almost peed his pants. Just at this moment, a huge force descended from the sky. Bang! It sword chi. This tyrannical sword chi split the tavern apart and fell straight towards the demon spirit's head. Wah! The demon spirit let out a shriek. A blood-red shield appeared above its head and actually blocked the sword chi. The over 10-meter-long sword chi nearly split the tavern into two. The guests who couldn't dodge in time were directly hit by the sword chi. Under the powerful airflow, their bodies turned into a mist of blood. It was a tragic sight to behold. In the sky, a bright moon illuminated the earth. A huge creature spread its wings and flew tens of meters in the sky. On the back of the dragon sat a person wearing a python armor. The sharp sword in his hand was emitting a cold light under the moonlight. That sword strike just now was given by him. It's just that. The Dragon Knight didn't seem to care about the lives of the commoners in the process of hunting demon spirits. Lin Muyu involuntarily grabbed onto Lu Bai's collar and threw him behind her. She used her body to protect this scammer. At the same time, she restrained her power and used the Spirit Meridian technique to seal the overflowing Sovereign God's power. This way, others wouldn't be able to sense his power. After all, the purpose of Lin Muyu's trip was to understand the Heavenly Pole continent and not to attract the attention of the experts of the Heavenly Pole continent. In the sky, the sound of the huge dragon flapping its wings was very intense. Behind the Dragon Knight, a few huge black shadows appeared. It seemed that in order to deal with this demon venerable, they had sent out more than one Dragon Knight. It's the Heavenly Jade Dragon Riders. He's a Dragon Rider General. Someone yelled. Dragon Riders were the minor leaders of a Dragon Rider army. Every Dragon Rider could command 10 Dragon Riders at most, but there were only a little more than 200 Dragon Riders in the entire Qinji Empire, so the noble status of a Dragon Rider was obvious. Lu Bai's entire body trembled, but his eyes were fixed on the Dragon Rider General in the air. He said, This Lord Dragon Rider General is actually a sacred martial king. I've seen a sacred martial king. How did you know it was the Saint Martial King? Lin Muyu was also affected by the aftermath of the sword chi. He could feel that the Dragon Rider General's sword had 37 stacks of power, which meant that he had the cultivation of 37 heavenly grottos, the first level of the God King realm. Didn't you see? He's wearing 4 golden emblems on his chest. The 3 empires will bestow emblems to the experts in their territories. 5 gold stars is the Saint Martial God, 4 gold stars is the Saint Martial King, and 3 gold stars is the Saint Martial Venerable. He has 4, so he's naturally the Saint Martial King. Lin Muyu couldn't help but sigh inwardly. His luck was really good. It was his first time coming to the Celestial Pole continent, and he actually encountered such a good show. Watching a Saint Martial King duel with a demon venerable. Interesting. In the sky, the Saint Martial King, who was riding on the dragon's back, said coldly, Dragon Rider General Su Chuan has led the 11th squad of the Heavenly Jade Dragon Riders here to hunt demon spirits. Unrelated people, leave immediately. Otherwise, if you're accidentally injured, the Heavenly Jade Dragon Riders will have nothing to do with it. In the tavern, the diners were desperately trying to escape. However, the door of the tavern had already collapsed, so they could only jump out of the window. Lu Bai was also anxious. He looked behind him and saw a wall. The nearest window was only 3 steps away from the demon venerable. He believed that the demon venerable wouldn't let him leave. What should I do? What should I do? We have to leave too. Lin Muyu didn't say anything. He turned around and punched the wall. With a boom, a hole appeared in the wall. He grabbed onto Lu Bai's collar and flew out, bringing him to hide in the fodder warehouse at the back of the tavern. The pile of fodder was used to feed the horses of the diners. The horse feeder had long escaped, leaving behind an empty fodder warehouse. Hide well. Lin Muyu raised his hand and threw Lu Bai into the pile of fodder. He then leaped up and sat on a bare wall, leaning against the pile of fodder to watch the show. This, little brother, aren't you afraid of death? Lu Bai poked his head out and asked. Just hide well. Don't worry about me. Look at you. Lu Bai muttered. In his eyes, what Lin Muyu was doing now was simply courting death. However, Lin Muyu's heart was as clear as a mirror. The strength of the demon venerable was equivalent to that of a 15,000-year-old spiritual beast. He could kill her within 5 moves. As for the dragon rider in the air, although he was one of the sacred martial kings of the Qinji Empire, to be honest, the strength of his godhead was too weak. It could only be classified as a mortal's godhead. Although Lin Muyu was only at the 21st layer of paradise, if it was a one-on-one fight, even if he couldn't win, he wouldn't be defeated. However, this dragon rider had brought 10 dragon riders with him. Therefore, Lin Muyu restrained his aura and just acted as a spectator. It was better not to intervene in this dispute if possible. Roar! The demon venerable roared into the sky. Waves of red air rippled out. It was actually a kind of domain, crushing down in all directions. The tavern diners who didn't have time to escape exploded one after another. The scene was too horrible to look at. Demon spirits were indeed not good things. Their speed of killing was even faster than that of the dragon rider. Lin Muyu watched silently, but she felt a little happy in her heart. In the celestial pole continent, the dragon rider was like the demon spirit. In their eyes, the lives of mortals were like grass and ants. However, it was different in the Shattered Cauldron world. A human life was a human life. At least according to the law of the Qin Empire, killing people required paying with one's life. Those who won the hearts of the people would win the world. It seemed that this was the strongest force that the Shattered Cauldron world could contend with. Roar! The sovereign demon's body grew larger, and it suddenly soared into the sky, clashing with the dragon knight. Sword light and blood light intertwined, and the sovereign demon's accumulated power shot out again and again. However, the dragon knight seemed to have become one with the dragon, and it was actually able to remain unmoving in the air. Every time the sovereign demon attacked, it would either be slashed or blocked. The other 10 dragon riders were actually indifferent. They spread out and formed a huge circle around the dragon rider. Other than supporting the dragon rider, they didn't do anything. Presumably, these dragon riders had absolute confidence in their captain. The sword light rose and waves of divine power rushed out. The demon venerable finally spat out a mouthful of blood. Its body fell into the tavern. The powerful force hit the surroundings, and the entire tavern immediately turned into ruins. Lin Muyu watched quietly. She could see through the divine power of the dragon rider, but she couldn't see why he could maintain such a harmonious momentum with the giant dragon. It was as if the man and the dragon were just a giant. The demon venerable's attacks were all useless, and he was even seriously injured. Very quickly, blood splattered everywhere. The demon spirit's entire arm was cut off by the dragon rider's sword. Roar, roar, roar! The deafening roar shook heaven and earth, and the commoners of the small city around the tavern had already fled for their lives like a tide. Only a few youngsters who harbored dreams and wanted to become dragon riders hid in the distance, watching the scene of a dragon rider hunting down a demonic spirit. In the midst of the hoarse roar, the demon venerable was covered in blood. Waves of bloody energy revolved around it. At this moment, a golden light suddenly shot out from its head, turning into layers of golden barriers that surrounded its body. Oh no! A dragon rider wearing silver armor hurriedly said, "Lord Su Chuan, this demon spirit is about to evolve. Goddammit, why did it have to evolve now of all times?" Su Chuan's expression was fierce. Humph, if it wasn't because it knew it was about to evolve, this demon spirit wouldn't have the guts to enter Clear Desolation City. Get out of the way. Even if it evolves, I will still kill it. Otherwise, how would I have the face to go back and see His Majesty? Alright, we'll guard the formation for you. The 10 dragon riders spread out, standing several hundred meters away from the battlefield. One of the dragon riders could even see Lin Muyu on top of the wall. He couldn't help but frown but didn't say anything. If this kid wants to die, then let him die. He can't blame anyone else. Not long after, the golden light surrounding the demon spirit dissipated, and a new arm grew out. Its body became shorter and rounder, but the power within its body increased by a large amount. The demon spirit in front of him was already a third-tier demon king. Come, you bastard. Su Chuan was still riding on the neck of the dragon rider, an excited smile on his face. To be able to kill a demon king is an honor for the Qinji dragon riders, and this honor will also belong to him. The demon spirit suddenly shot out, filling the sky with bloody light. Bang! Amidst the loud noise, a dazzling golden light blossomed in the sky. This was the result of the collision between the god power and the powerful demon power. As the dragon rider wailed, the dragon rider's mount was injured. 2 of the scales on the dragon rider's neck were torn open, and fresh blood flowed out. Su Chuan wasn't in a good state either. A bloody wound appeared on his arm. The attack of a demon king was indeed extraordinary. However, the demon king seemed to be in an even worse state. A 1-meter-long wound had been cut open on its abdomen, and fresh blood was flowing out. During the second attack, the dragon rider soared in the sky, and the dragon rider's sword energy scattered between the heavens and the earth. This battle seemed like it was going to destroy the world. After the 23rd attack, the demon king's internal organs were finally about to spill out. The dragon rider was covered in blood, and the dragon rider's mount was also covered in wounds. "Lord Sichuan, we will help you," a dragon rider shouted. "Oh." Sichuan frowned and said, "This is a demon king. Don't come over. I don't want any dragon rider from the Qinji Empire to die here." "Yes." "Die." The roar reverberated in the sky of the small city, followed by the roar of a demon spirit. Finally the demon king fell down softly. "Pata!" Sichuan descended from the sky. After landing, he stabbed the demon king's head with his sword, piercing the brain until it spilled out. Then he raised his head in satisfaction and said, "All right, mission accomplished." As he spoke, Sichuan looked at the fodder warehouse at the side. He couldn't help but sneer and said, "Kid, have you seen enough? You have the guts to watch me kill the demon king. I've been discovered." Chapter 726. It's over. Lu Bai's face was deathly pale. Even though the heavenly jade dragon riders were known as the protectors of the empire, in the end, those dragon riders were still lofty existences. Commoners simply did not have the qualifications to come into contact with them. Now that Sichuan had discovered that the rash youngster was peeking at them, the situation might immediately develop in the worst possible direction. Who would have thought that what left Lu Bai surprised was that Lin Muyu was not afraid at all. Instead, she stood on the broken wall and looked straight at Sichuan. Her gaze was completely devoid of fear as she said, "You are a dragon rider?" "I am. So what?" Sichuan coldly looked at her. "Many thanks for killing this demon for clear desolate city. Otherwise, who knows how many commoners it would have harmed." Lin Muyu's tone was extremely calm. Sichuan seemed to never smile. His face was covered in frost as he said, "This is our duty. Brat, hurry up and leave this place. There might be other demon spirits, but with your strength?" He looked at Lin Muyu with contempt. Under his spiritual perception, he could only see that there was a bit of true energy floating within Lin Muyu's body. He couldn't see a star and a half of divine force or king's battle flame. It was clear that this was someone who had only cultivated true energy. As such, he smiled and said, "I'm afraid that you won't even be able to see the demon spirit before you'll be devoured." "Many thanks." Lin Muyu cupped her hands and smiled. She flipped over and left the top of the wall. She grabbed Lu Bai and disappeared into the night without looking back. A dragon rider took out a rope and firmly tied the demon spirit's corpse to the dragon's leg. Then he respectfully said, "Lord Sichuan, that youngster just now, what happened?" "It's nothing." Sichuan nodded. After muttering to himself for a moment he said, "Although this youngster's cultivation is insignificant, his aura doesn't lose to any sacred martial king. How strange. He doesn't seem to be from the Tianji Empire either. Could it be someone from the Celestial Empire or the Blackstone Empire?" "Ah, my lord, why do you care so much? You said it yourself, he's just an insignificant brat. Maybe he just worships the dragon knights. There are countless young people on the continent who dream of becoming a dragon knight. He's just one of them." Sichuan took another look at Lin Muyu and Lu Bai's silhouettes in the dark, then said, "Let's go back to the imperial capital to report on the completion of the mission, and also to see if the tongue captured by the marshal has confessed anything." "Yes." One after another, the dragons spread their wings and abruptly soared into the sky. The people in the small city all looked up, looking at the miraculous existence that they would never be able to see in their lives. Dragon riders were the most respected existence and symbol of power in the entire celestial pole continent. Just the training of a dragon rider would cost more than 100,000 gold coins every year. Including the food and maintenance of the dragons, if one wanted to raise a dragon rider, it would cost nearly 300,000 gold coins every year. This amount of money was enough to cover half a year's worth of taxes in Clear Desolation City. "Young hero, you're too bold. You actually dare to speak to the Lord Dragon Rider like that. Do you know that the Lord Dragon Rider can blow you apart with a single breath? Even a single fart can kill you. You're too rash." In the night, Lu Bai continued to talk. Lin Muyu frowned. The scene of Sichuan killing the demon spirit was still playing in her mind. Man and dragon could reach the realm of becoming one. Every time Sichuan waved his sword, the dragon would change its flying direction and trajectory, increasing the power of its master's attack by a lot. Furthermore, it was perfectly dodging attacks. Could it be that the people of the celestial pole continent also practiced beast-taming techniques? It seemed that this was the only explanation. Furthermore, this was a beast-taming technique that was even more refined than the spiritual communication technique. His brows furrowed even tighter. These dragon riders were known as the pride of the celestial pole continent. In the future they would definitely be a huge problem for the Shattered Cauldron realm. Furthermore, from Su Chuan's attitude, the dragon riders of the celestial pole continent were arrogant and did not care about others at all. If they were to find out that there was another world on the other side of the continent, the consequences would be obvious. The dragon riders that filled the sky would engulf the entire Shattered Cauldron realm like a plague. And what did the Shattered Cauldron realm rely on? The only few gods or the Longdan army camp and the magic crystal cannons. When he thought of this, Lin Muyu could not help but feel a chill in his heart. Hey kid, what are you thinking about? Why are you ignoring me? Don't you know that this is impolite? Lu Bai carefully walked along the rocky mountain path in the forest. This clear, desolate city was connected to the mountain range. In fact, it could not be considered a city anymore. It could only be considered a town nestled in the embrace of the mountain range. Only then did Lin Muyu turn around and smile guiltily. Sorry, Bai. I was thinking about something just now. What were you thinking about? Nothing. You clearly don't want to say it, yet you're still making excuses like this. I'm not making excuses. I just don't want to say it. Tui? You bastard, I'm about to die from anger. A faint golden luster flashed past Lin Muyu's eyes. He looked at the mountain path in front of him and said, Bai, what do these dragon riders usually do? What do they do? Lu Bai smiled. You've asked the right person. Although I'm only in clear desolate city, there's nothing I don't know about. The Tianji dragon riders are under the direct command of His Majesty the Sacred Emperor. Normally they will split up and patrol the various cities, carrying out missions to hunt demonic spirits. When there is war, these dragon riders will rush to the battlefield. When there is a local unrest, the dragon riders will also participate in the war. 7 years ago, there was an upheaval in the northern province. The empire mobilized over 70% of the Tianji dragon riders to quell the rebellion. It was truly a reign of terror. Some people say that in a single night, these dragon riders slaughtered nearly 300,000 soldiers and civilians who participated in the rebellion. Lu Bai seemed to be able to see that tragic war. He clicked his tongue and said, To the people, the dragon riders are the gods of war that the heavens have bestowed upon the human world. To the emperor, the dragon riders are just a tool to rule. Our country's Tianji dragon riders, as well as the neighboring countries' Tianjua dragon riders and Blackstone dragon riders, are all the same. Otherwise, the three great empires wouldn't have been able to rule the celestial pole continent for so long. Lin Muyu nodded, then asked, Bai, as a commoner, what do you think of these sacred martial gods, sacred martial kings and sacred martial sovereigns? Do you revere them or do you want to stand shoulder to shoulder with them? Stand shoulder to shoulder? Stop joking. Lu Bai couldn't help but laugh. Those people aren't mortals. They're all gods. It's said that some sacred martial gods have even lived in the god realm. It's just that the spiritual qi in the celestial pole continent is very abundant, so they're willing to enter the world to cultivate. Young hero, why are you asking this? If you ask so many more questions, I'll have to charge you extra. There's going to be extra charges? Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. Bai, you're just too greedy. Humans die in pursuit of wealth, just as birds die in pursuit of food. You better not ask me any more questions. I've already answered a lot. Alright, I won't ask any more. That's right, there are a lot of demonic spirits. Do they appear frequently? How could that be? Basically, encountering a demonic spirit is as unlucky as stepping on dog shit. Do you think you can encounter one just because you want to? Lu Bai smacked his lips. You're really bad, tricking me into answering your questions again. This time, no matter what, you'll have to pay more for the questioning. Young hero, you're really too gutsy. As he spoke, Lu Bai suddenly trembled all over and he stood where he was. His eyes stared straight into the distance as if his soul had been hooked. His face instantly turned deathly pale. What's wrong? Lin Muyu asked. Lu Bai extended his hand and pointed in front of him. H*T. Under the moonlight on the mountain path, a demon with a crooked body and barbs all over its body crawled on top of a huge rock. A pair of blood-red eyes stared fixedly at Lin Muyu and Lu Bai. That was the gaze of someone staring at their prey. It slowly opened its mouth and unexpectedly, its mouth was also filled with barbs. If they were to be bitten by it, a large piece of meat would probably be destroyed. Demonic spirit. Lu Bai said with a trembling voice. We really stepped on dog shit. Is that so? Lin Muyu acted as if nothing had happened. His spiritual pulse technique had already sensed the existence of this demonic spirit a few minutes ago. It's just that the strength of this demonic spirit was too weak, so he didn't think much of it. He asked, "Then what class is this demonic spirit?" Lu Bai stared at the neck of the demonic spirit and muttered to himself, "Blue, green, white, gray, red. A total of 5 colors. It's a class 5 demonic spirit. Oh my god, it's over. If it was a class 8 or a class 9 demonic spirit, I might be able to survive if I ran faster than you. It's over this time, class 5? Can't you see the color of its neck?" Demonic spirits are also cultivated to increase their cultivation. The higher the cultivation, the more uniform the spiritual energy will be. A real demon emperor's neck only has 1 color. As he spoke, Lu Bai's body trembled. He grabbed onto Lin Muyu's wrist and said with a trembling voice, "Young hero, don't run. Don't turn around. It's useless to run after encountering a demonic spirit. Even the weakest class 9 demonic spirit can easily catch up to humans. I don't intend to run. Don't grab me. Men shouldn't touch each other. Pay." Lu Bai's face alternated between white and yellow as he said, "It's over. I never thought that a dignified god-rank physiognomist like me would actually die here. In the end, I didn't even get a girlfriend. My life is really not worth it." "Jia Jia." The demonic spirit stuck out its tongue and laughed cruelly as if it was mocking Lu Bai. Lu Bai didn't move. This time he really didn't dare to move. If he were to act blindly without thinking, it might speed up his death. Right now he could only wait for a quick death. He only hoped that this demonic spirit would eat him slowly and let him live a little longer. However, at the side, Lin Muyu rolled up her sleeves, revealing a pair of strong arms. "Young hero, what do you want?" Lu Bai asked. "Fight with my life. Don't tell me you're just going to sit and wait to be someone's midnight snack?" Lu Bai's eyes lit up. "All right. I forgot that you're someone who followed Master to cultivate in the mountains. I thought you were a weak chicken waiting to be slaughtered. Damn you." As Lin Muyu spoke, her figure flashed and went straight for the class 5 demonic spirit in front of her. "It's the national day. You went home to accompany his parents. Therefore there will be no updates on the 30th to the 5th. I hope that everyone can understand. After all, life is far more important than the internet." Chapter 727. Hiss. All the spikes on the demon spirit's body stood up, like an inflated porcupine. This demon spirit's cultivation was much higher than Lu Bai's. When Lin Muyu made her move, she had already sensed the sudden burst of power within this young man's body. It had simply reached an extremely frightening realm, an extremely frightening realm. The demon spirit's body started to burn, and its strength quickly rose to its peak. It waved its sharp claws and charged towards Lin Muyu. Was it trying to fight with its life on the line? However, how could Lin Muyu give it such a chance? In the 5 elements, water can subdue fire. As her body moved, she raised her fist, and streams of law of ice quickly gathered. Her fist instantly became the center of a spinning force field, and she punched towards the demon spirit's abdomen. Divine energy flashed, and the 5th class demon spirit flew out like a ball sealed in ice, heavily falling into the grass. There was no longer any signs of life. It was killed by Lin Muyu with just 1 punch. It can't be, right? Lu Bai's jaw almost dropped to the ground. This is too exaggerated. Who the hell is this kid? He killed a 5th class demon spirit with a single punch. What kind of terrifying thing is this? Even those sacred warriors or sacred martial venerables within the Empire's borders can't do such a thing, right? Both fists lightly bumped and ice shards fell to the ground. Lin Muyu happily said, "Done." "How is this possible?" Lu Bai carefully came to the side of the demon spirit and said, "Young hero, did you really kill this demon spirit? It couldn't have suddenly died, right?" Lin Muyu glanced at him and walked forward. He opened his palm and pressed it on a huge rock that was as tall as 2 people. Divine energy circulated, and with a shout, the huge rock slowly split into pieces. He clapped his hands and said as if nothing had happened, "How is it? Do you still need proof? Who is your master? He's so powerful." Lu Bai's face was extremely pale, and he was even more afraid than when he encountered a demon spirit. "If I tell you my master's name, you'll probably be scared to death. Tell me, who is it?" "My master's martial arts are astonishing, and she's proficient in the pulse-severing battle technique. Her name is Shuero and people call her Little Demon. She's also a peerless beauty, hee. Commoner, let me ask you, are you afraid?" Lin Muyu remembered that there was a very powerful girl in the game she used to play, so she made up a story. Lu Bai was overwhelmed with shock. 10,000 thoughts flashed through his mind. This Shui Rou must be an old monster with an extremely high cultivation who was tens of thousands of years old. Just the thought of her wrinkled face was enough to scare someone to death. Young hero, what's your name? Just call me young hero. Don't ask for my name. Lin Muyu took out a handful of Jinyin coins and crushed them into gold nuggets. Lini, this is your allowance. So much gold. Young swordsman, what are you doing? Lu Bai's eyes lit up. Lin Muyu said, for the next period of time, you'll travel around this celestial pole continent with me and be my guide. I won't treat you badly and I'll protect you. How could there be such a good thing in the world? Lu Bai nodded happily. Okay. Speaking of which, I'm very familiar with this continent. Alright, where do you want to travel to? Let's go to the Tianji Empire's imperial capital, Tianji City first. Then we'll go to the Celestial Empire and the Blackstone Empire. I want to travel around this celestial pole continent. Lin Muyu clenched her fists. Only by knowing yourself and your enemy could you win 100 battles. If she knew nothing about the celestial pole continent, the Shattered Cauldron realm was destined to suffer a great loss. After all, the disparity in strength was too great. The reason why she wanted Lu Bai to be her guide was very simple. There were too many immortal-level experts in the celestial pole continent. Any sacred martial god might be able to kill her. Therefore, it was best to keep a low profile and act cautiously. Lin Muyu didn't plan to defeat such a strong opponent in the celestial pole continent purely by force. She could only rely on intelligence. Okay, I'll do as you say. Don't talk so much. Go buy 2 fast horses first and find an inn to rest at night. We'll set off tomorrow and travel all the way to Tianji City. Yes, young hero. Lu Bai bowed and weighed the gold nugget in his hand. It weighed at least half a kilogram. If he were to exchange so much gold at a gold shop, he would be able to exchange it for at least 20 small gold coins of the Tianji Empire. He would be making a fortune. At night, in an inn in Qinghuang City, Lin Muyu opened a small window and looked at the faint moonlight outside the window with her arms as a pillow. It had been a few days since she left the Empire. She could be considered to have a slight understanding of the celestial pole continent. However, the more she knew about the celestial pole continent, the more worried she was about the Qin Empire in the Shattered Cauldron realm. The Empire's current strength was definitely not a match for the celestial pole continent. In fact, it couldn't even defeat the Tianji Empire. He licked his somewhat dry lips and slowly released his spiritual perception. A strand of psyche power traversed through space and headed straight for the Shattered Cauldron realm. He had to warn the people of the Shattered Cauldron realm to act cautiously. In Tongtian Gorge, next to the central military tent of the Longdan army camp, in Tang Xiaoxi's tent, the candlelight swayed gently. Tang Xiaoxi, who was sitting by the bed and cultivating, suddenly felt a jolt in her heart. A familiar psyche power had awakened her. Closing her eyes, Tang Xiaoxi could immediately see Lin Muyu's appearance. She couldn't help but ask, Mu, you've been in the celestial pole continent for so many days. How is it going? I'm fine. Don't worry, Xiaoxi. Lin Muyu chuckled. You're still talking about it? I miss you so much. I miss you too, but I have something more important to tell you now. It's about everything about the celestial pole continent. And tell me. Thus, Lin Muyu told Tang Xiaoxi everything she knew. Hearing that, Tang Xiaoxi's beautiful face turned pale. Originally, she only thought that the celestial pole continent in the east was stronger, but now she knew that this celestial pole continent was ridiculously strong. Tang Xiaoxi frowned slightly and said worriedly, then what should we do? What else can we do? Counter soldiers with arms and water with an earth weir. Lin Muyu said, you have to use the fastest speed to send a letter to Big Brother Feng and Aiyan. Inform the entire Lingnan and Lanyan city and all the major provinces to transfer elite troops to the 4 provinces facing the sea to set up defenses. In addition, let the Empire's shipyards build warships with all their might. If the 3 empires invade our borders, we have to stop them at the east of the coast. My psyche power to send a message consumes too much energy and the distance is too far, so I'll have to rely on you. Don't worry. Tang Xiaoxi said obediently, my psyche power is enough to send a message to Feng Jixing, and then let Feng Jixing send a message to Qin Yan. And don't make it public first. All the military deployments and movements must be carried out in secret. We can't be in a mess before the war starts in the celestial pole continent, understand? I understand. Don't worry, Mu. Also, you're in the celestial pole continent. There are so many Saint Martial gods and Saint Martial kings, and every one of them can defeat you. You have to be careful. Once Wei Chao's battle with the demon race at the Tongtian Gorge ends, I'll immediately go to the celestial pole continent to find you. Don't worry, I'll gather information here. You have to guard the empire. Right now, you and Ouyang Yen have the highest cultivation in the empire, so you must guard there and wait for me to return. Then come back early. Don't worry, I'll naturally leave after I understand this place well enough. I also know that this place is very dangerous. Tang Xiaoxi couldn't help but laugh. You're still in the mood to joke? Alright, maintaining psyche power consumes too much divine power. Quickly retract your psyche power. I'll tell everything to Feng Jixing and Qin Yan in a while. When Lin Muyu's psyche power dispersed, the illusion in front of Tang Xiaoxi immediately dissipated and was replaced by Ouyang Yan's charming face. It's Lin Muyu's psyche power? And what did she say? Some fatal things. Tang Xiaoxi took another look at Ouyang Yan and said, Ouyang, if we're on the losing side in the future war, will you still serve the Qin Empire? Ouyang Yan was stunned, then she puffed out her chest and said with a smile, What kind of person does Princess she think I, Ouyang Yan, am? Since I've decided to serve the Qin Empire, I'll naturally protect it with my life. Moreover, I owe His Highness a life. He gave me a new lease of life. This kindness is worth me, Ouyang Yan, to repay with my life. There's no need for you to repay kindness. Tang Xiaoxi smiled faintly and said, However, this continent is indeed plagued with disasters. I originally thought that after the Fiend race and Iha country were destroyed, it would usher in a period of peace and prosperity, but I didn't expect. Oh right, Ouyang, has Chu returned yet? He came back once and went out again. Chu said that he sensed the invasion of power from the east, so he decided to head to the celestial pole continent to take a look. Perhaps he can even meet His Highness you. How can there be such a coincidence? Tang Xiaoxi pouted and said, I'm going to exert my power. Help me guard. Yes, eldest miss. Tianji City, the most prosperous city in the entire Tianji Empire, and also the capital of the empire. This crowded capital was located in the north of the empire's territory, but it had a thriving population with strong soldiers and horses. Tianji Palace, the center of the entire Tianji City, was also the residence of the Royal North Deep clan. Tianji Palace's luxury was well known throughout the entire celestial pole continent. It was said that the tiles used in Tianji Palace were glazed tiles, and the anti-slip particles on the floor tiles were actually white diamonds. Moreover, the beams of the entire main hall were built with the bones of an ancient divine dragon. It was very strong and had the dragon power to protect the main hall from the impact of power. In the main hall there were many officials. On the throne, a middle-aged expert wearing a dragon robe sat there with his eyes shining. He was Baiming Yuan, an ultimate god. Although an ultimate god was not rare in the Tianji Empire, it was not easy for an emperor to become an ultimate god. Baiming Yuan had been on the throne for many years and kept a low profile. It was also because of his existence that the other two empires did not dare to covet the territory of the Tianji Empire. The officials and generals were divided into two sides. The one in front of the generals was about 40 years old with 5 golden badges on his chest armor, indicating his strength level, martial saint. Baiming Huan, Baiming Yuan's younger brother, was the empire's marshal and a martial saint. He was second to none in the empire. His scarlet palm technique could be said to be invincible in the world. Your Majesty, Baiming Huan said respectfully, Dragon Rider Sichuan is back. He has hunted a Demon King level demon spirit. Alright, summon him. Yes. Chapter 728. Dong Dong Dong. Sichuan walked into the palace with his head held high. In terms of status and experience, he was one of the few in the Tianji Empire. There were a total of 5 sacred martial kings in the Tianji Empire, and 2 of them served the empire. One was Baiming Huan, and the other was General Zhang Cheng. The other 3 sacred martial kings cultivated in the Tianji sect and were not under the empire's control. Next were the 11 sacred martial kings, and most of them cultivated in the Tianji sect. There were only 4 sacred martial kings in the empire, and Sichuan was one of them. Thank you for your hard work, Dragon Rider Sichuan. Baiming Yuan held onto the golden lion head on the throne. His face had a gratified expression as he smiled and said, Did you bring the corpse of that Demon King level demon spirit? Yes. Sichuan turned his head, grabbed the demon spirit's corpse from the hands of his subordinates and threw it on the red carpet. He smiled and said, In order to kill this Demon King, my dragon mount suffered quite a bit of injury. It really suffered. Baiming Abyss laughed heartily, You've worked hard. Men, come and heavily reward Sir Dragon Rider Sichuan. Bestow him with 500 caddies of gold and 500 caddies of silver. In addition, bestow him with the title of a second-class lord and 500 hectares of land. Thank you, Your Majesty. Su Chuan bowed. Although the Tianji Dragon Riders were directly under Beiming Abyss's command, they were not part of the Empire's military. Instead, they were a group of independent people. That was why Su Chuan's rank was only that of a Dragon Rider, and he did not hold any position within the Empire. As for titles like Lord, and so on, those were just empty titles. What Su Chuan cared about was the gold, silver, and jewels that Beiming Abyss gave him. Even though he was a Saint Martial King, he still needed to live a luxurious life after entering the secular world to cultivate. Su Chuan owned a luxurious mansion that was worth 10 million gold coins in Tianji City. There were 500 guards and over 30 beauties in the mansion. If he didn't have these gold and silver rewards, it would probably be difficult for him to continue living such an immortal-like life. Su Chuan knelt on one knee and said, "Your Majesty, did the tongue we caught a few days ago confess anything?" "Yes." Beiming Huan said, "Beiming Huan, tell me." "Yes." Beiming Huan nodded respectfully. "Dragon Rider Su Chuan, soon the Empire will face a new war, and our opponent will be a continent on the other side of the ocean." That tongue seemed to have confessed everything. A month ago, the great battle in the Divine Realm officially ended. Lord Shi Yin Blazing Angel accidentally damaged the Wall of Order during the intense battle with the gods of the Eastern Celestial Heavens, causing the spiritual mountains of the two planes to collide and merge with each other. This caused the wall between our plane's plane and the Shattered Cauldron Realm's plane to officially disappear. Now that the two continents have completely merged, a new war is about to arrive. Su Chuan was dazed. Shattered Cauldron Realm? What kind of continent is that? Beiming Huan smiled and said, "Don't worry, the Broken Cauldron world is still in the embryonic stage, and its power is far inferior to ours. The most powerful god in the Broken Cauldron world is only a god king who is in the 30th heavenly abode, and their weapons, and horses are all far inferior to ours. But the Broken Cauldron world is fertile, and the population is thriving. The spirit beasts in the forest are also quite famous, and their spirit cores can be used for our cultivation. So, as long as we take the Broken Cauldron world as our own, the Tianji Empire will definitely be able to develop in 100 years, and then destroy the Heavenju Empire and the Darkstone Empire, and unify the whole world. When do we leave?" Su Chuan was a bit excited. "We have to act before the Celestial Empire and the Blackstone Empire find out. We can't let others get this fat meat first." "Hey, don't be in such a hurry." Beiming Huan waved his hand and smiled. "Recently, I have been deploying troops at the border. We have to stabilize the border first before we can send some troops to conquer Shattered Cauldron Realm. In addition, I have also sent envoys to the two empires to ask for an alliance. Only with an alliance can we focus on attacking Shattered Cauldron Realm." "Yes, I will listen to Marshall's orders." That's good, haha. Shattered Cauldron Realm will be ours sooner or later, no need to rush." "Yes." The night was indescribably cold. The night of the exile land was full of slaughter, and one could even hear miserable cries from afar. No one knew which unlucky soul had died under a sharp blade. Rustle, rustle, rustle. The girl was kneeling in the grass with bare feet. There was a kind of black crawling bug in this patch of grass. Although this bug didn't bite, it was very disgusting when it moved. This demon spirit girl's arms and hair were almost covered with these bugs, but she didn't move at all, like a withered leaf hidden in the grass. She had been waiting here for a whole day, but the hunter from hell still hadn't appeared. She clearly remembered the battle 2 days ago. That hunter in black armor had almost cut off his own arm with a single sword strike. Moreover, this dark hunter's movements were getting more and more frequent. All signs showed that he was eager to rule this area, and didn't want to let any of his opponents live. Never be bullied by others. These were her father's words. Although her father had died a long time ago, the young girl still remembered these words. These words were the law of her life in the banished lands. If anyone wanted to kill her, she must kill them first. Rustle. A strange sound came. It didn't sound like the sound of a pine insect crawling over the grass, but was completely different. It was the sound of boots stepping on the wet grass. It had rained half a day ago and the ground was still wet. The girl didn't move, but her pair of beautiful eyes quietly looked into the distance. With the sound of footsteps, he had arrived. The black soft armor was decorated with resplendent diamonds, blinding people's eyes. The black helmet looked so exquisite. A steel sword hung from his waist, and his palm was pressed on the sword hilt. He looked around with a sharp gaze, searching for his opponent. The cold night wind blew, making the long hair behind his helmet and trench coat flutter. He had always been like this, pursuing the pinnacle of handsomeness, a man like the wind. Come out. He suddenly stopped, and his gaze was like a sword as he looked at the grass in front of him. Silence. He seemed to be a little impatient. He raised his hand and a ball of fire appeared. He shouted in a low voice, "Come out. Do you want me to personally invite you out? You're courting death." Whoosh. The flames swallowed the entire field of wild grass, and suddenly there was a roar. It was a ferocious tiger from the exile land, the horned tiger. It was a fierce tiger with a sharp horn on its head, and it was at the top of the food chain in the exile land. There weren't many people who dared to provoke the horned tiger, and this man in front of him was one of them. "Bastard, how dare you ambush me? You're courting death." He attacked. His fist was wrapped in flames, and he smashed it heavily on the horned tiger's abdomen from a strange angle. However, a tyrannical rebounding force attacked him. The horned tiger's skin was covered with stellar energy, and just as he was about to fall, the horned tiger flipped its sharp claws and swept them horizontally. A few bloody wounds immediately appeared on his shoulder. Damn it. He took the opportunity to pull out his sword. The blade was wrapped in a ball of fire, a ball of golden light. This was a cultivator of the law of fire and light. The temperature and light of the spewing flames converged. He launched a fierce attack, and his whole body melted into the sword light. Blood splattered in the wind. When he pulled out his sword, the horned tiger could no longer resist. The messy sword wounds and holes on its body proved that the horned tiger was defeated. Roar! Amidst the miserable howl, the steel sword pierced straight into the horned tiger's mouth, and came out through its brain, carrying with it a strong smell of blood. Humph! He raised his palm and licked clean the tiger blood that had splattered on his palm. Filthy trash. But at this moment, a shadow passed by him as silent as the wind. Rip! The sound was very light. It was a sharp knife, shining with a frightening cold light. After the knife light, a thin wound spread out from his neck. With a pu sound, it completely bloomed like a beautiful flower. Blood spurted out from his neck. He stood there dumbfounded, the sword in his hand still stabbed into the horned tiger's head. He raised his head, looking at the stars in the sky. His hair and cloak fluttered in the wind. A man like the wind. Bang! After heavily falling to the ground, he died in humiliation. The sword in his hand was pulled out from the horned tiger's mouth. It was covered in blood, but under the moonlight, it shone with a demonic luster, as if it was responding to the light in the sky. The demon spirit girl slowly walked over with the bloody knife. Looking at her opponent's corpse, her face was emotionless. She didn't even feel the joy of victory. She only felt that everything was as it should be. Bending down, she picked up her opponent's sword. The moment the blade touched her hand, she suddenly froze. A vigorous and overbearing power seemed to be resonating with the sword in her body. Shwa! The power in her arm flowed into the sword. In the next moment, golden crystals separated from the power and rapidly spun. What is this? She was dumbfounded. She never thought that she would have a connection with a weapon. Moreover, these flying golden crystals were a type of pure energy crystal. But what was it? Who am I? She muttered to herself, but the chilling night wind of the banished lands answered her rampantly. Woo, she couldn't understand. This paragraph was so poetic that even I was moved. Knock, knock, knock. Violent knocks came from outside the inn's door. Open the door, open the door. If you don't open the door, we will break it down. Lin Muyu woke up from his sleep. The divine power that he had used to transmit the message through his telekinesis last night was fully replenished. He floated up and opened the door to his room, only to see 7 to 8 armored soldiers staring at him. One of the soldiers was holding Lu Bai in his hands. The poor Lu Bai was already tied up. What is it? Lin Muyu was so calm that it was exaggerated. What? An officer wearing a 10-man military rank smiled and said, "Are you a noble?" No. Do you have any friends who are nobles? No. Then do you have money? I am poor. Then congratulations, you have been conscripted by the Imperial Army in the West Mountain Province as a first-class private. Don't say anything. You will naturally understand your status when you reach the military camp. Lin Muyu narrowed her eyes. Damn, they are grabbing a strong man. Chapter 729. Lin Muyu's hands were tied behind her back. Fortunately, she had already put the star's sword into her cosmos bag, and the Cosmos bag was hidden in her bosom, so these soldiers of the Qinji Empire did not find it. However, Lu Bai, who was standing beside her, had a bitter look on his face. He muttered in a low voice, "Young hero, I don't believe that you will give up without a fight. With your strength, you definitely won't be afraid of these soldiers who bully the weak and fear the strong. What do you know? They have knives in their hands." Lin Muyu snickered. In fact, she just wanted to go to the military camp of the Qinji Empire to see their fighting capacity. As for getting out of here, Lin Muyu could easily do it at any time. On the path in the jungle, there were dozens of people who had been captured as new recruits like Lin Muyu and Lu Bai. They were escorted by nearly 50 soldiers of the Qinji Empire. Lin Muyu looked at the equipment of these soldiers, whether intentionally or unintentionally. Only 10-man sergeants were qualified to wear armor, and their armor was relatively inferior. The armor was rusty, and most of them could not withstand the full thrust of the long spear. Ordinary soldiers did not wear armor at all. They only wore dirty cotton military uniforms, which made them look like a group of ruffians. In fact, these people were indeed the lowest soldiers in the army. Otherwise, they would not have been sent to do this kind of work. Walking all the way until noon, the group arrived at a place about 20 li north of Qinghuang City. From afar, a military camp built on the side of a mountain could be seen. Lin Muyu could tell with a single glance that this military camp could accommodate about 5,000 people. It was not a small camp, but it was most likely a new recruit camp. From afar they could hear the sounds of new recruits training. Their voices were mixed, and they were definitely not veterans who had gone through hundreds of battles. Lu Bai complained incessantly. In a low voice he said, "I've had many plans in my life. I've wanted to be an erudite and knowledgeable prophet. I've wanted to be an omniscient fortune teller. I've also wanted to be a noble and have many wives and concubines, but I've never wanted to be a soldier. If a good man wants to be a soldier, what are you afraid of? I'm here." Lin Muyu smiled and comforted him. Lu Bai felt even more uncomfortable. Who was willing to be a soldier these days? Their pay was deducted too much and their lives were in danger at any time. No one was willing to be a soldier. Otherwise, the situation wouldn't have developed to such an exaggerated extent as catching able-bodied men. "Stop looking around and go in," an old soldier shouted loudly. He raised his whip and landed it heavily on a young man. The young man looked to be about 15 years old. He grimaced in pain, but he didn't dare to say a word. The dozens of able-bodied men were all brought to a corner of the military camp. After they stood still, the curtain of a tent in the distance was lifted, and a man with 2 silver triangular military insignia on his chest walked out. His face was full of beard and his voice was like muffled thunder exploding, "All of you shut up if you don't want to die." Everyone was horrified and didn't dare to speak. The bearded general sneered. He looked at the group of new soldiers in front of him as if he was looking at a group of bugs and said, "You're all a bunch of trash. Do you know how much military rations are needed to feed you into real soldiers? If you want to become soldiers like me who protect His Majesty the Sacred Emperor and the Qinji Empire, you must not fear death or pain. You must become stronger as soon as possible." In the crowd, a thin man immediately knelt down and begged for mercy. "Sir, I'm just a peddler in Qinghuang City. I didn't think of becoming a soldier. I have parents and children to take care of. Please let me go, sir." "You trash." The bearded general suddenly raised his hand, and a fist shadow exploded in the air. With a bang, the peddler vomited blood and fainted. Everyone was immediately scared out of their wits and they were all dumbfounded. Lin Muyu secretly took a breath. This officer didn't wear a general's insignia, and was only a small officer. However, the power of his punch just now was as strong as the 3rd layer of the heaven realm. The celestial pole continent was indeed full of hidden dragons and crouching tigers. The overall level of cultivation was more than a level higher than that of the empire. "You have no way out." The bearded general narrowed his eyes at the crowd and said, "You're walking on a single plank bridge. In front of you are the glorious soldiers of the empire, and behind you is the road to death. Make your own choice. Do you choose to become a tough and strong soldier who has been tempered by wind and rain, or do you choose to be a coward, a piece of trash who will die in humiliation in a cesspool?" Everyone was silent. The general continued, "I know that many of you are unconvinced, but let me tell you this. If it wasn't for the fact that the Empire's army needs people, they wouldn't have captured you at all because you're not qualified." His eyes were filled with a sneer. "I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Chen Dongyang and I belong to the West Mountain Province's army on duty. My military rank is 2nd rank and I lead 1,000 people. From now on you're a member of my 1,000-man army. However, I'll say the ugly words first. If you can't become a soldier, you'll become a dead man. So please do your best. In the afternoon, I'll give you weapons and uniforms. I hope you don't disappoint me." Everyone was aghast. Who dared to say another word? Lin Muyu and Lu Bai were arranged to stay in the same tent. It was a very crude tent that was riddled with holes. The ground was covered with weeds, and that was the recruit's bed. The 10-man squad leader behind him scolded in a low voice, "Stop looking, pick your own bed, and then follow me to get the supplies." Lu Bai looked at Lin Muyu, and Lin Muyu signaled him not to do anything. Sooner or later she would bring him away from this place. As expected, the weapons were very crude. Lin Muyu received a long halberd. The tip of the long halberd was almost rusted through, and the blade and the handle were only wrapped with a few pieces of torn cotton cloth. It was hard to imagine what this kind of weapon would be used for on the battlefield. However, the military uniform was new, but it was a little too small, and it looked a little ridiculous on her. After receiving the weapons, the recruit training began in the afternoon. The first training was to cooperate with the team to attack. This surprised Lin Muyu a little. Although the equipment of the Qinji Empire looked crude, the tactical training was very strict, and orders were strictly followed. The military training of the instructors was very good. In the evening it was a weight-bearing training. A group of recruits carried their weapons and walked around the mountains. Behind them were instructors riding on horses and waving leather whips. Those who fell behind could not avoid physical pain. Fortunately, with Lin Muyu's help, Lu Bai did not suffer much. At sunset, 500 recruits came to the entrance of the valley. However, they heard a rumbling sound coming from afar. "What's wrong?" Lu Bai stopped and touched his neck. It had been scratched by the handle of the long halberd. Several instructors also stopped involuntarily. On the horizon, the rumbling sound was getting closer and closer. Soon, a group of cavalries appeared on the other side of the valley. It was a group of cavalries riding on wild beasts. Moreover, it was a group of armored tigers. However, these tigers seemed to be different from the ones Lin Muyu had seen before. Their backs were very flat and they were suitable for riding. The cavalrymen on the back of the ferocious tigers were clad in armor. Their helmets shone with a golden radiance under the setting sun. Between the gaps of their helmets, pairs of ruthless gazes swept across the bodies of the new recruits. They didn't stop at all. "What is that?" The recruits were stunned. Not only the recruits but even the instructors looked envious. It was obvious that their status could not be compared with this kind of cavalry's. "Stop looking," one of the instructors said angrily. "It's the Tiger Leopard Cavalry, one of the branches of the Empire's cavalries. Only the children of nobles have the opportunity to enter the cavalries to receive training. However, you guys, as long as you make great contributions on the battlefield, you will also have the same opportunity. Stop being envious. Let's go." "Yes, sir." The recruits already knew how to talk to their superior officers. After dinner, Lu Bai was so tired that he could barely move. He lay on the meadow motionless as if he was dead. Lin Muyu pushed his arm. "Plain clothes. Let me sleep for a while more." "You don't want to go?" Lin Muyu asked with a smile. "Can we go?" "Why can't I?" Under the moonlight, the two of them left the military camp along a small mountain path. After walking for a short distance, they suddenly heard a rustling sound from the bushes in the distance. "Who is it?" Lin Muyu shouted in a low voice. "Don't be nervous, it's us." A few people who looked like recruits stood up from the bushes. They were also recruits who had trained with them during the day. It seemed like they were also deserters. So they ran together. However, after leaving the camp for less than 2 miles, the sound of hooves came from behind. Torches flickered and a voice shouted in the wind, "All of you stop, you scum." It was the voice of second-rank Tiger Lieutenant Qin Dongyang. "Run." No one knew who shouted, but the crowd began to scatter in all directions. The war horses were very fast. In the darkness of the night, there were about 10 cavalrymen galloping towards them. Qin Dongyang held his shining long sword and galloped at the front. He raised his sword and slashed at the back of a deserter. Blood splattered everywhere. The poor recruit was almost cut in half. "It's over, this demon." Lu Bai was shocked. "You go, I will block him. Run as fast as you can and I will catch up to you." Lin Muyu said in a low voice. "Okay." Lu Bai didn't even look back as he ran. Lin Muyu turned around and flew over. "A deserter like you dares to turn back and seek death?" Qin Dongyang roared. He raised his bloody long sword and slashed at Lin Muyu. The long sword was enshrouded with fighting energy, and it turned into a bolt of lightning. It was extremely fast. However, Lin Muyu was even faster. She flashed past at a speed that the naked eye could not follow, dodging the attack of the longsword. Her fist was imbued with half of her divine power as she punched Qin Dongyang's abdomen. Bang! Golden light burst out and Qin Dongyang spat out a mouthful of blood. He fell off his horse and rolled on the ground like a cannonball. He looked very embarrassed. This bastard, he wants to kill General Chen. A group of cavalries galloped over and threw their spears. Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. With a light shake of her arms, a huge invisible wall immediately formed in front of her. Dang dang dang. The spears were all knocked away. She raised her fist and swept out with half of the power of chaos of the lives. Instantly, a strong gust of wind blew and a golden shockwave rippled out, causing a group of riders and their horses to tumble and tumble away. Heavens, this brat is a holy martial venerable. Qin Dongyang wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Stop the attack and retreat. Come and help me, my ribs are all broken. Chapter 730. In the spring of the Xishan province, the birds were singing and the flowers were fragrant. A bonfire was burning and a rabbit was being roasted above it. The aroma of the meat had begun to spread. Lu Bai kept turning the stick and he was sweating profusely. Lin Muyu was lying on the grass with her arms as a pillow. She murmured to herself, Tianji Dragon Cavalry, Beast Cavalry, Tiger Leopard Cavalry. Young hero, what are you doing? Get up and eat. Lin Muyu took a rabbit leg and took a few bites. But she was preoccupied and didn't have the appetite. She asked, Bai, how many beast cavalrymen are there in the Tianji Empire? It's said that there are more than 30,000 beast cavalrymen. I've only heard of them before, but I've finally seen them. TSK. Awesome. Awesome. I was scared to death. Lu Bai was speechless. Even Lin Muyu was shocked by the power of the beast cavalrymen, let alone an ordinary person like Lu Bai. More than 30,000? Lin Muyu murmured. She had a new understanding of the military strength of the Tianji Empire. If they really fought, the Qin Empire would be defeated. In the sky an eagle was circling. Lin Muyu frowned. What's that? This eagle was a bit strange. Its head didn't look like a bird's but like a wolf's head. It's just a hunting eagle. What's so strange about it? Lu Bai lowered his head and gnawed on the rabbit. He didn't even want to look up. But soon another sound echoed in the air. Honk, honk. Dragon roar. On the other side of the hill, two behemoths flapped their giant wings and appeared in the sky. They were two dragon cavalrymen. Suddenly, Lu Bai was so scared that he dropped the rabbit in his hand. He took a few steps back and said, Oh my God, dragon cavalrymen found us. The two of them were still wearing the military uniforms of the Tianji Empire's recruits, which could be seen at a glance. Bai, go back as far as possible. Don't come over. Lin Muyu said lightly. Well, be careful. Lu Bai ran away. Roar! One of the two dragons was blue and the other red, but their heads were equally ferocious. They stared at Lin Muyu with the eyes of wild beasts. In fact, the dragon race was originally a wild beast, just a beast in the food chain. On the dragon's back, half of the dragon rider's face was covered by a blue helmet, but his gaze was like a sharp sword that made one's heart go cold. In his hands was a spear that had frost swirling around it. It's you two who escaped from West Mountain Province's main camp, right? You two deserters escaped from the Xishan Province camp, right? Lin Muyu didn't deny it. Instead, she asked, How did you find us? That's the only thing I'm curious about. The dragon cavalryman laughed. His teeth were very white. He pointed the dragon spear at the eagle circling in the sky and said, Do you see that? That's a wolf falcon, a wolf that can fly. Its sense of smell is more than 10 times that of a wolf's. Even if you two fly into the sky or dive into the ground, we can still find you. So now, what do you want? Lin Muyu pulled out the stellar sword from her Qingkuan bag. The sword flashed and the dragon cavalryman was slightly stunned. He could feel the sword's sharpness. However, the shock only lasted for a moment. The dragon cavalryman's confidence wouldn't waver. He squinted his eyes and said, Nothing much. As a member of the Tianji Dragon Cavalry, I did what I had to do. I just sent you two to the Empire's military law office to receive the punishment that deserters deserve. Let me give you a piece of advice. Don't try to resist. Any accidental deaths during the Tianji Dragon Cavalry's mission can be pardoned. Accidental deaths? Lin Muyu couldn't help but laugh. She said, You're dreaming? You actually want to kill me? Tell me, what are your names? I don't want to kill you and I still don't know your names. Impudent. Arrogant. The two dragon riders roared together. However, they were obviously nobles and they still maintained the self-restraint that nobles should have. They lowered their dragon spears and said, Junior Dragon Cavalryman Li Ku. Second-rank Dragon Cavalryman Hu Yin. Alright, let's do it. Lin Muyu stood majestically on the grass and looked at the sky indifferently. Li Ku was at the Divine Heaven Realm, and Hu Yin was at the Divine Sovereign Realm. What worried Lin Muyu was how much their battle power would increase after becoming one with the dragon. However, what made Lin Muyu excited was that she actually had the chance to fight a dragon cavalryman here. This was too rare of an opportunity, and it was also a great chance to understand a dragon cavalryman. Arrogant to the extreme. Li Ku roared angrily and urged the dragon to pounce. He raised his long sword and a fiery light shot into the sky. His attack was indeed extraordinary. Moreover, before the sword energy even landed, a formless aura shrouded everyone, making them feel suffocated. Moreover, the power of this sword actually contained very pure dragon power. Buzz. The golden wall of the gourd appeared in front of Lin Muyu, and with a bang, light surged. The dragon scale wall blocked Li Ku's attack. After all, there was a large disparity in strength between the two. Li Ku and his dragon were blown back by the surging cyclone, and he couldn't help but show a look of surprise on his face. A powerful feeling of shock came from the dragon sword. The opponent's seemingly very simple defensive wall was actually ridiculously strong. How is this possible? Li Ku frowned. Clear Desolation City was just an unremarkable small city in the West Mountain province. How could there be a strong person who could fight against a dragon cavalryman? This brat didn't look like someone that powerful. He looked more like a pretty boy kept by a rich woman in the city. This was simply too unbelievable. Let me. Hu Yin roared and attacked from the other side of Lin Muyu. His dragon spear stabbed down, and layers of frost lingered around it. Layers of frost waves instantly formed a tornado that wrapped around Lin Muyu. At the same time, the blue dragon opened its mouth and spat out an ice dragon breath. Rustle, rustle. The surrounding grass was instantly covered in frost, but the frost dragon breath burst forth in the next moment. A perfect gourd wall defense appeared around Lin Muyu's body. The dragon blood battle shield blocked all of Hu Yin's attacks. The battle shield pulsated with the waves of divinity, a total of 15 layers. Immediately Lin Muyu couldn't help but secretly laugh. She already knew what was going to happen. Pa. When the two dragon cavalrymen looked again, Lin Muyu had already disappeared. The cyclone flowed back and the tender grass swayed. Where is she? Hu Yin was shocked and quickly focused his senses. His heart turned cold. Above. In the dazzling sunlight, a figure with rapidly spinning flames flew down. It was Lin Muyu's Chaos of the Lives attack with the astral sword, full power. Hu Yin didn't have time to dodge and could only block with his dragon spear. Bang! A huge golden light exploded, and layers of waves covered the sky and covered the earth. The impact caused Hu Yin's Perlicue to immediately bleed. The impact of the 21 waves was so strong that Hu Yin almost couldn't even hold his dragon spear. His body leaned back, and just as he was about to lose his defense from Lin Muyu's attack, the blue dragon suddenly roared. Light blue air currents appeared around its body and stabilized its master's body. What is this? Lin Muyu frowned and didn't say anything. In a flash, she attacked with her sword 4 times in a row. From the second element to the fifth element, the layers of power stacked together. How could Hu Yin block it? With a cry, he spat out a mouthful of blood and fell to the ground with the giant dragon. Bang! The giant dragon howled and fell to the ground, sending soil and grass flying into the sky. Not far away, Lu Bai, who was hiding behind a huge rock and watching from afar, was so shocked that his soul almost left his body. Who was this kid? He actually defeated a dragon knight with just a few simple attacks? Moreover, it was a Saint Martial Venerable level dragon knight. That was a god. Lord Hu Yin, are you okay? Li Ku's face was full of shock. Hu Yin's voice came from the mess. I'm fine. I'm fine. Li Ku, you have to be careful. This person is very strong, very strong. He used the word very strong to describe Lin Muyu's strength, but it was clearly not enough. Li Ku held the dragon sword and gritted his teeth. Who are you? A person who travels the world. Lin Muyu casually replied. But you just had to find trouble with me. How about it, Lord Li Ku, do you still want to fight it out with me? You? Li Ku's voice was slightly trembling. Hu Yin was his superior. Li Ku naturally knew how strong this dragon knight was. He had sparred with Hu Yin before, and Huyin could subdue him within 20 moves. But just now Huyin was injured in just 5 moves. How could Li Ku be a match for him? Seeing that Li Ku didn't say anything, Lin Muyu couldn't help but smile. She pointed the star sword at her opponent and said, "Then there's no need to fight. Remember, don't follow us anymore. Otherwise I'll kill everyone I see." Li Ku was silent. As a revered dragon knight, he actually lost so miserably. Luckily there wasn't anyone else here. Otherwise he wouldn't know where he could hide his face. Lin Muyu flew with the wind and landed on the ground. "Let's go, Bai." Lu Bai was dumbfounded. You were flying just now? Why, is it very strange?" "No, it's not strange." Although he said that, Lu Bai's eyes were clearly filled with "You're awesome, Lord Huyin." Li Ku flipped over and jumped down from the dragon's back. He went to help the heavily injured Huyin. Huyin's arms were covered in blood. His blood vessels were bleeding from the shock. One could imagine how powerful Lin Muyu's 5 consecutive sword attacks were. Cough cough, Huyin coughed and blood gushed out of his mouth. He lay on the dragon's wings in a sorry state. 21st layer? What 21st layer? This kid is a Saint Martial Venerable at the 21st layer of the Grotto Heaven. Oh my god, Li Ku was shocked. Aren't all the Saint Martial Venerables in the Empire on the list? I've never seen such a person before. He might be an unworldly expert who cultivates in the mountains. Quickly report this to Lord Dragon Knight. Okay. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.